Peace and love, family. Peace and love. Yes, sir. I want to salute all our family out there, man, that's been subscribing to my channel, checking in on the content, getting the drawing and so forth and so on. As this is information for everybody in the public, regardless of what it is that you may believe, what it is that you may subscribe to as opposed to, what it is that somebody else think you should subscribe to. But nevertheless, I always want to begin by rising upon the seventh and giving praises to the great God, honors to his holy prophets, a special one to us being Moors, Noble Drew Ali, but all of those who are masterminds, all of those who have came throughout the climes and the time teaching a people to uplift a people, I want to say Islam to my Moorish family. I want to say Salaam alaikum rahmatullah barakatuhu to those who are in the world of Al-Islam, peace, peace to the gods and earth, Rahubat to the Nuwabian family. We can go into many different greetings, also Yahuru to the worldwide community that's striving to unfold and demonstrate self-determination. This is a grand drawing that I had to bring on the manifest. I actually was present last night on one of our beloved brother Sarnetta's broadcast, and I had the privilege of speaking to some brothers from what we like to call the motherland, or from Africa. So my basis of this special broadcast will be covering some of the dialogue that we had last night, and to clear up some measures and give a grand insight that is very important to be understood. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually open up and allow you to get some of that broadcast where you can see what was stated, on Sarnetta's show. And I'm gonna allow you to basically get some insight into, what it is in regards to dealing with this special broadcast that will be, we'll say, very important for the masses to grasp on. And this is not a measure to attack anyone or what it is that they believe or what it is that they subscribe to. This is just a measure to bring clarity to our family. But as you can see, our title for this special drawing is the African Factbook, Busting the Myths Concerning the Moors. And we want to give honors to those who were part of the African Union, who came together to put together a fact book in relation to dealing with exactly who our people are, and we give shouts out to those who are on the mother continent who can see the clear conception in relation to dealing with the measure of unity. And so what I want to do, without further delay, first and foremost, I want to give honors to all our family out there that's trying to enlighten our people. We give honors to our brother Sarnetta, for allowing us to come forth on this platform, despite his political, religious, any view that he may have in regards to dealing with the conscious community. We also want to give honors to our other family, the Lions Den, JJ 7000, our brother Jeremiah Judah, for all that he does, along with the rest of the crew, our beloved brother, the bishop, as they call him, brother Black Jesus Minister. We give honors to that brother, as well, for the work that they are doing, because all our people trying to come together under oneness at this time, and that's the goal. So the whole measure is that I represent the Moorish American government, and my duty, according to Act 6, is to teach my people to be themselves, teach them their nationality and their divine creed, and we teach that our nationality is Moorish American. And if you've watched my videos, then you see that I have proven, you know, in countless measures who the Moors are. A lot of this information has come after a time where the Moors had not put so much information out there. And so really a lot of my videos had to do with cleaning up the work uh, of those who came forth and gave a misconception of who Moors are. And they have people having a misunderstanding of this, and people that don't comprehend exactly, who the Moors are. And this is on the account of certain Moors themselves who came forth and have given misinformation or disinformation, so to speak, or they didn't have the knowledge to properly come forth with whatever information it was that they had, but they did the best that they could. We don't hold ones accountable for what they don't know. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said it this way. He said, I forgave you for everything that you did before I came. So now that the truth is on the manifest, I want to make sure that our family get the grand drawing, of what the truth is, and we can give our people a grand insight, as to what it really means to be a Moorish people, and what this entails, so to speak, how important it is. So I don't want to drag our people out, but I want to do this before I do anything. I want to try to get this link out here to our family. Make sure. Just give me 1 second, family. I want to make sure I get this link out here to our family. So bear with me for a second here. I want to make sure Okay. Yeah. So bear with me. Bear witness. Bear with me, pardon self, for this special measure here that I'm getting ready to bring on manifest. I want to make sure that our family can get a hold to this demonstration. So I'm going to share it a few times. Then I'm going to go further into depth. This is very important that our family get a drawing on this. I want to make sure that everybody get a clear conception. And we will also open up the floor if there are those who are willing to come forth, and give their special measure as well. So yeah, anybody that would like to come forth, we most definitely welcome you to come forth to give your portion. Let me make sure I got this here on here. Make sure our family can get it. Share this here. Okay. I don't know why I'm trying to make sure this thing here shows my live. Okay. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just share it as it is. I'll figure that out later because I don't want to keep the people waiting. If anybody would like to come forth, though, they would definitely be allowed to come up here, and I'll send them the link. And we can have a respectful dialogue because I don't deal with no going back and forth and acting crazy on here. You know what I mean? I'm willing to hear you out. Let's see. All right. There we go. This is very important, family. Okay. Okay, so there we go right there. There we go. Okay, so that's one of them. Let me get a few more of these links out, family. And if you can see the video, share the link as well. You know, and also feel free to subscribe as well, and let others know about these special measures that you see me setting out here. So all of this right here is for the public eye. We want to make sure that the public is well informed. Let's see here. A few more there. A few more there. All right. We got one there. I'm going to have somebody that will share these things for me in the future. Let them get in tune and with the masses, and that way I can perceive forth. There's always a better way to do things. Teamwork make the dream work, right? Okay, let me see here. Okay, I think that's about it right there for that. We can get okay, I want to send it there. Okay. Okay. So here we go. Yeah. Here we go. All right, family. So now, to move forward with our measure, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play, this video from Sarnet's show last night. And once I do that, I'm going to give our family a drawing on this special video. So what I want to do, I'm going to share my screen first and foremost. Let me get my screen up here. And then we'll go deeper into the measure. Okay, so yeah, I got everything where I need it. There we go. I'm going to close that out because I don't need that. Okay. Here we go. So let me share the screen real quick, and I'm going to let y'all listen to this special broadcast. Some people may have already seen it. Some may have not. But you'll get a drawing on where I'm coming from after I go into this special measure. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay.
Anyway, peace and black power, Javille. What's going on, Javille? Billy Jones, what's happening?
Yeah. How you doing, man? How you doing, son? You good?
I'm good. What's your nationality? Where you from, brother? I hear accent.
I'm from Southern Africa.
Oh, man. Okay. All my brothers, come on in, brothers. That's what's happening, man.
Southern Africa,
Yeah.
I speak Portuguese as well, like Angola.
Oh, man,
Angola.
Beautiful. So what's on your mind, man? Do you want to add on to the build that the brothers are talking?
You know what? I actually just came in.
What's on your mind, man? Do you want to add on to the build that the brothers are talking? Hey, you got to echo, comedian. You got to echo, adapt when you turn it down. Because I want to bring you in where you can ask the brothers any questions. Hey, let me ask you a question. Now that we got a Moor here, have you witnessed any Moors that's over there in Africa now? Like the brother here that we bringing in, this is a good brother. And have you witnessed any Moors over there? Anybody can elaborate on that?
Do you mean at present or years ago?
No, present right now.
There are
Not
no
years
more.
ago, I
There are
know.
no more. There are no more. There are no more. None. Zero.
No, there are no more. You get echo about more when you are in Mauritania, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because that was their last stronghold.
Yeah. Even in Morocco, there are no more.
Yeah, there are no group of people identified as Moors today on the continent.
Moors.
But you get an echo of the Moors once you are in Mauritania because the sentiment still exists there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Can I ask the brothers a question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, my brother.
Okay, let me ask you, brothers, this question. Because I studied the works of Brother Sheikh Anta Diop, John and Henry Clark, all our scholars, which I know y'all may be familiar with as well. What I want to ask you, because I know the European in their literature spoke of two groups. One that they basically termed Moors, but I know that there were those who were indigenous, right? And they fought the Arabs, basically, and ran them back into Saudi Arabia under the brother Jabil, Tariq, And so I want to know, as far as dealing with these particular groups of people, which come from the ancient Maori. Are you familiar with the ancient Maori people of ancient time?
You mean the ancient Mali or?
No, the Maori.
Maori.
The Maori from whence the Mauritanians come. The original indigenous inhabitants.
Yeah, so if I would speak on that, what we know, like you mentioned Diop very well, what we know about the area called Mauritania, it was the Ouagadougou Empire of Ghana.
Yeah.
So when that was the Ouagadougou Empire, and the people who were in charge of that place are called they are an extraction of the Mandingo people, but they have their own ethnic group, but they are from a Mandingo group. They were controlling that area. So the Moor issue actually, what Diop said, these groups, they came from various places. We have people who came as far as Yemen.
That's right.
Okay. Yemen, some from Morocco, and some black people got mixed. It was not like a unique group of black people. They were like Arabs.
They were mixed.
Okay. Yeah. So it was just like Islam is today, where everybody just joined. So it was like a movement. Black people were also there having stakes in the whole organization, and they were having power there too, but they were not solely black. They were also Yemenis and everybody in there. Right. So the black people who were joining these people, mostly African, considered themselves out because they were not always
100%.
They were more conscious about the philosophy, the religion, and not really about race, because race consciousness is not the
Brother Sekou, let me add to that. Most of the monks were also followers of the slave chiefs, navigating those chiefs with the enslavers.
Right. Now,
and they were translators. They were translators as well.
Right. Let me ask you this question, because we teach that it was the Moroccans, that actually enslaved the Moors. You see, because Moroccans don't consider themselves Moors. And so what I wanted to ask you in relation to this is, because we helped establish certain things in Europe, they got statutes of all of our people. You ever heard of the brother Mustafa Zamori, who came to the United States first from Mauritania?
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, well, he was one that actually founded Florida and a couple of places or whatever, and the Arabs consider us descendants of him. And he was a Moor, Mustafa Zamori. So if you get a chance, look him up. And I want to say this, and I'm going to stand down and let everybody else speak as well. I understand the doctrine of most of those in West Africa, according to our brother G.M. James, who wrote Stolen Legacy, that they took the original teachings of Kemet into North Africa. And in my understanding of that, that was mostly dominated by what we would call the doctrine of Sufism, which is traced back to Dhul Nun, which is, he say he got from Tehuti. So I see West Africa mostly dominated by the Sufistic culture as opposed to the Sunnite culture, which I know they identify with the Kemetic tradition within their tradition.
Are you familiar with that?
Brother, I think that is wrong because what you just said is like double talking. If you say Sufism and the Sunni Muslims, they are all Muslims. It's just that there are different cults to the same religion, because of their different ideologies. And you said that it took the Kemetic culture to North Africa. Kemet is in North Africa. So what are you trying to say? I didn't understand that.
This is what it ain't what I'm trying to say. This is historically recorded, my brother. That the Sufis, they trace themselves back to the teachings of a brother from Egypt by the name of Dhul Nun, who was known as the father of Sufism, right? And Dhul Nun said his teachings come from Tahuti in Egypt, thought the god of writing. You see what I'm saying?
Well, this Dhul Nun, was he a Muslim? Was he a Muslim or what?
That's what I'm saying.
He was a Muslim.
There's a difference between Sufism and Islam because Sufis draw from a universal platform, brother. Tasawwuf is not really accepted by Muslims like that. Even though you see it intertwined, it's really not Islam. Sufism is a movement of its own, but most Muslims claim Sufism. And so what I'm saying is that the Sufis trace themselves back to Tahuti in Egypt, right? And if they trace their tradition to Tahuti, I can show it to you right now, but I don't feel like
anybody can fabricate that kind of story. I think that's figurative speech because you can't trace it back to Tahuti because the Kemetic science has nothing to do with Islam, Christianity.
Totally different.
So.
I want you to get this book if you never read it before. It's called Alchemy, right? And basically, like I said, if you go and look, the father of Sufism was from Egypt. He was Egyptian, right? But it was he that
I ask you, was he a Muslim? I ask you, was he a Muslim?
He was more of a mystic than anything. But what I'm saying
He was a Moor.
He was a mystic, but his teachings were accepted universally, by all mystics, basically. And I'm just asking you, right? And if you're not familiar with it, you know what I mean, and you identifying the group as Muslim, I understand that. But my thing is, from my studies and me actually coming out of Orthodox Islam at one time, because I'm not an Orthodox Muslim, I'm not into Sunnism, Shiism, or none of that. But after
so what are you? What type of Muslim are you then?
I follow the teaching of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
No, what type of Muslim are you?
I'm not a
You have to be one.
I'm not a Muslim, my brother.
So why do you say under Moorish science? Wait, why do you grade under Moorish science Islam? Why do you use the word Islam?
Why do I use the word Islam?
Yeah. In felicitation, under the Moorish science, because I always hear them say Islam. Okay. Why do you use the word Islam?
Okay, I'm gonna let you know why we use this special word. We use this special word because it simply means peace, but we don't demonstrate Islam. We call it Islamism. Now, when we say Islam adds on the actual practitioner of being peaceful, not just saying peace, but being peace. That's what Islamism means to us. And it also means peace to everybody, regardless of what they believe, what their school of thought is. We respect everybody's belief system in the circle that I come through, right? So what I'm saying is, I don't, whatever your religious system is, we draw from a universal paradigm. We understand that our people in the diaspora come from many different schools of thought and theology. And so when we draw with our people, we respect where they are along the way, but we honor all of those who have came to teach our people. We have people that taught from the Hebrew paradigm. We have people that taught from all types of paradigms over here. So our teaching, the way he brought it to us, he told us that we were from Africa. But according to the law, and where we were written into the law in 1740, something y'all would know about, we were referred to in the European law as Moors.
and these are the only people they honored. If you were called Negro, black, colored, and all of that, brother, you consider property over here. You see what I'm saying? Because we don't have that nationality that you have over there, being from Nigeria. This brother from
not true, my brother.
So Negro,
But that's not true. That's not true.
Listen to me, Negro, black, and colored in America.
So you guys have to be certified by the European for you to be happy with the word Moor. Is that what you're telling me?
No,
because you guys were certified as Moor.
That ain't what I'm saying, brother. I'm saying that the titles that our people have accepted, Negro, black, color, these titles were given to us by the European and
do you know the best definition I've heard of the word black? I heard it from Sanetta.
We understand.
You know what it means? You know what it means? Why are you ashamed of the word black? You don't need to be ashamed of it. You know what it is? You know what it is?
Listen to me, brother.
Can I say something?
When at night, when you look at the universe, the multiverse is multiple of darkness. Do you know what that is?
Listen to what I'm saying, brother.
Hold on for 1 minute. Adept. Let's go, Sekou. Brother Sekou, talk to us.
Yeah, so my brother here from the Moorish community, no disrespect, brother. I'm not an expert in the history of Moorism or how it started, so I'm not going to pretend here that I know the details or everything you are talking about. So I'm not going to debunk everything you said just because I don't like it. I don't have evidence to disprove or prove what you just said. But when we go by what our scholars have written, you mentioned Diop when you came on here. They don't mention any of the things that you mentioned when it comes to the origin of Moorism. And when we look at the continent of Africa, Diop wrote the cultural unity of Africa, east, west, south, north. All over Africa, wherever you go, we pour libation. We talk about ancestors. We talk about all these things. We talk about reincarnation. We never talk about Moorism. We never talk about Islam. We never talk about these things. Now, you may have your sources, and that will be left to archaeological. When you have archaeological proof, written record, you would like to show those ones. And I cannot tell you are lying because I don't have anything to disprove what you say. But what I'm telling you, as far as our scholars are concerned, we know the cultural unity of Africa, the Moorism is not included.
Right.
And hold on. And one more thing that you got, brother Sekou, is that you have your tongue intact, you have your ancestry intact, and when you got that, you got the continent intact, and you know that when you go all the way back to the spirit of our ancestors, we wasn't none of that stuff. We wasn't the Muslims, we wasn't Christians, we wasn't Moors. We have became that in America, but our ancestors don't take you back home to that. So that's what you do have.
Well, let me share this real quick, Sir, and I'm going to stand down because I don't want to hold up the show. I want to show these brothers something real quick.
No, I don't want to do that right quick. No. But I tell you what, though. Hold on, Adept. I do have somebody that would like to talk to you, and we're going to get into that. Yeah, so we don't want to do that right now, Adept.
Allow me to do this one time. I ain't going into.
All right, go ahead. Come on, Adept.
I want to show these brothers something.
All right, come on.
Briefly, it ain't gonna take me but a second.
All right.
I think they need to see this right here in order for them to know exactly where I'm coming from.
All right.
Here we go right here. Let me know that can you see my screen?
We see your screen, brother.
Okay, you see this right here, right? This European here, John Frederick Blumenbeck, right? He was the one, brothers, that originated this term. Referring to people along the lines of colorism, right? Caucasian race, white race, Mongolian race, yellow race, Malayan, brown race, Ethiopian, black race, American, red race, right? You're not referred to in your nationality as Liberian, being black. That's a description of who you are. But they try to give these titles of us as being a people. And I'm showing you that that is not a nation that has a black flag. There's no nation that has a white flag, so to speak, So when you deal with Liberia has a flag for Liberia. Nigeria has a flag for Nigeria. And these titles were given to us on the Black Code laws. And that's what I was emphasizing to you all. Where you have a nationality, ours was stripped from us. And that's what the worst form of slavery of people can suffer on. You know,
Brother Moore, you already have a nationality. It is called African American. America is the country. African is your ancestry. It's simple.
Hey, brother.
Why did you show that? There's no reason to show that.
Where's the flag?
There was no reason to show that. Telling me about color.
So the flag, I get.
And you've got a flag as well.
That's the United States.
More than 50 stars on your flag.
That's the United States flag, my brother.
You are part of the United States. Why are you removing yourself from that?
We don't claim that flag, my brother. With all due respect.
Now hold on, Moore.
Man, come on.
Moors over here that say they are Moorish American, and they got the Moorish flag and they got the American flag together.
That's referring to the continental territory, Sarnetta. That's the Moors in the temple. We Moorish American government over here.
Okay. You renegade Moors. You're a renegade.
So you mean within the Moors,
Ali said that he was going to do. He said he was going to leave the Europeans here long enough to teach the Moors how to run a government. So we deal in government instead of trying to be up under this European government. You feel me?
Yes, I feel you.
Peace and love.
Hey, brother, do you got my number? Adep, you got my number?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. When the show over, hit me up. I need you to text me so I can have your number. All right, brother. Peace, man.
Peace and love. Love you, brother.
Peace.
All right.
All right. Let me bring on the brother.
Okay.
My brother, you in the building.
So
What's
let
happening?
me stop this real quick. All right, family. So y'all see what we dealing with here. Shalom, Judah. Yeah, y'all see what we dealing with here, right? So we dealing with a group of individuals that have come forth from Africa. And basically, you know, one brother, Sekou is what he called himself. He admitted that he didn't have a full knowledge and background of who the Moors are. But in his opinion, according to what he read in the teachings of Cheikh Anta Diop, you know, he's saying, well, Cheikh Anta Diop never mentioned the Moors and such and such. So I asked him, did he know who the Mari were? And he didn't know who I was talking about. You know, the Mari is the original name from whence the word Moor derives in the first place. So if you go and Cheikh Anta Diop's works, you know, he actually speaks of the Marians and the Mauritanians in his works. Most of his works are based upon the works of Omer and the Greek records that they had out, so to speak, what they like to call Greek anyway. And most of these records that they have, he just was basically reiterating his breakdown. He used a lot of the European terminology, such as the Grimaldi man and, you know, all these different scientific titles that the European came forth with their anthropology. You know, and I have nothing against our brother Cheikh Anta Diop, you know, but he was working with what he had, you know, but most scholars actually disagree with him. Like Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, you know, Chancellor Williams, Ivan Van Sertima, G.M. James, all of these brothers are scholars from over here, and their consensus, even though they built on Pan-Africanism, they all spoke favorably concerning the Moors. They didn't speak, you know, as if the Moors was some people that was just a bunch of ragtag, you know, individuals that didn't mean nothing. You know, them brothers spoke highly of Moors, you know, and we have it in their work, so to speak. You know, for those who would like to do the research, they actually got the videos where you can see Dr. Ben and Dr. John Henry Clark, and, you know, you can see them. You can see them there speaking on these things. So that's like 4 or 5 individuals, you know, against, you know, one. And also our brother, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, with all the information that he had, he himself was considered pseudo by the majority. A lot of his stuff was rejected by the Europeans. Now that ain't to say, and some of our people too, that ain't to say that we should reject him or none of that. But I say reevaluate the work and look at the work and understand the work, because he does address, who the Moors are. He even speaks of the Ibero-Maurusian. He speaks of all of these things. And so I think sometimes we as a people have a tendency, and I'm seeing not only over here in the West, but even in the East or the Occident, I'm in the Orient part and stuff. When you go into that especially area, I'm seeing that our people have this thing about selective researching. Me, when I research, I take everything, with a grain of salt, so to speak, because I know the nature of how information has been remixed. I know the nature of how information has been changed, added to, taken from, and all of this. So I got a response to this group of brothers that is from Africa. And this is going to come from scholars and those who are leaders of the African world, the African Union. And that's why I entitled this a special broadcast the way I did in relation to dealing with the African Factbook, busting the myths. This is an 800-page book. And I encourage my family, any of you, if you can, to get this a special measure. And it's just one portion dealing with the Moors in that book. This is from people who are actually leaders in the world. This ain't even old. I got a lot of old classical sources to prove what I say. And a lot of that information is right here in this same book, that I'm getting ready to put up here for you to see. But I just want to make sure I make it plain. And the other brother, V-Man is what he called himself. I could tell that our beloved brother, he was more reactionary to the information that I set out. And I can tell that he is not as in depth as the brother Seiko is, but he, on the other hand, would try to rebel against the information that he have no knowledge of. Whereas Seiko would be in the state of saying, I don't know, I ain't fully knowledgeable, and you may have your sources. See, this is a man, that's wise enough to at least get something to drawing out of this special measure, right? But what I want to do right now, I want to give you a prime example, because like I say, even our brother Seiko, I can tell he really didn't read all our brother Chikanta Diop works, because he got a whole measure, in his work where he addressed Mauritania, the Moors, and all of that right there. His perspectives on it, is his perspectives. But what I will say is, looking at the way the information he was given, knowing the universities that he went to, you can't blame him for the sources that he had. But the way the European has always depicted the Moors is that they was some Arabs. But this African fact book that I'm getting ready to show you is going to tell you, something totally different. Not only that, but they also mention in the African fact book, and I just found this last night after the discussion, just doing some research. It also mentions the measure that I broke down to them about John Blumenbach, when I was telling him that was the man who created or invented this race concept, with this black man, white man, yellow man, red man, brown man. That came from the European. There's nowhere in Africa, I ain't talking about giving it a description, because even when they use it for the word, when they say Kemet means black land, that's talking about the soil. It don't have nothing to do with dealing with the actual description of the people, even though people try to, do that by bringing that Western concept in it. That's just describing the soil, mainly the Nile Valley. You see? Now, our people are of hue, they are melanated. But the description of their appearance has nothing to do with their nationality, which they also address in this African fact book. And this ain't no old information, family. They just put this together. They just compiled this, and this is from Africa. This book is from Africa. And so I think that these brothers and anybody else who would want to have knowledge of what's really going on, they need to take a look at this special work. You see? So what I'm going to do right now, let me open up I want to make sure that I'm sharing. So I'm gonna stop sharing this and I'm gonna reshare to make sure that our family actually is seeing what I'm seeing. Because sometimes I think I'm sharing and I'm not sharing. Okay, so there we go right there. And we're gonna address a few things in here. And I noticed the brother when I asked him about Dhul Noon, Mustafa Zamori, and individuals like that, they didn't know who I was talking about. You see, for example, this is I'm gonna give you that first since we there anyway. I'm gonna give you that first. Okay, for example, Mustafa Zamori. This North African Moor was the first Arabic speaker in the Americas, 1527. You see that? 1527, right? Mustafa Zamori. Mustafa al-Zamori or Mustafa al-Zamor is thought to be the first Arabic-speaking person to land in the so-called New World. Not much is known about him, even though according to Moroccan-American professor Laila Lelami, more people have come to know the man's voyage since she wrote a fictional memoir for Mustafa in 2014. Mustafa was born and raised in 15th century Azamor, now a modern coastal Moroccan city. At this time, which was few centuries after the Moors had conquered Spain, the Wattisid dynasty, a ruling house of Berber descent, and Berber is also a misnomer that was given by both the Romans and the Arabs. That means barbarian, but that's a whole nother measure. Was in charge of the space we would call, or now call, Morocco. To the Mediterranean Europeans, all peoples in North Africa can be described as Moors. So understand this point right here, right? So this is why other people were included in the groups of the description of dealing with the Moors. And also, if you pay attention to the language that's being used here, even the word Berber, though it was given to our people, by Romans and Arabs, there's a word that actually in the Kemetic language that deal with Berber, but it deals with the pyramid. That's a whole nother measure. So it goes on to say here what Moor stood for widened over time, so that between the 6th and 15th century, both the peoples of former Roman colony of Mauritania and Middle Easterners, including Arabs, were called Moors by Europeans of the Mediterranean. By the beginning of the 15th century, for specificity, yeah, but anyway, it states by 1492, the Moorish stronghold of Granada fell to the Reconquista. The Europeans were referring to Arabs as Moors. So basically, they began to use this as a blanket term. And the balance of power was affected when the Spanish reasserted control over their homeland. They did not only look to defend their homeland after this period, but set their sights on the neighbors across the sea to the south, right? How Zamori became a slave of Spain is not known for sure. However, the ring theory holds that Azamor faced economic hardships during the 1500s, and this economic malaise forced and changed in identities, right, of some people. A free man such as Mustafa became enslaved. Under such agreement, a person could be sold into servitude against their will. This is not the same as chattel slavery, which was the case with the transatlantic slave trade, yet the identity losing aspect of enslavement was about the same. Under Spanish law, the expeditions to the Americas could not include Muslims and Jews. You see, y'all familiar with this special demonstration when these people were expelled in 1492 under Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, right? Such, and that deal with the Philocious, the Sephardim Moors, who some people like to call Moorish Jews, and those who were Moorish Muslims. Mustafa would be forced to let go of his faith, Islam, as well as his name. He was from that point known and called Estevencio, or Little Stephen, a Christian. Estevencio is what many researchers continue to call Mustafa. Estevencio, the Christian, isn't how he would have felt about himself, obviously, but that is how the world would have treated him. And it's basically sound just like us as a people. And it is a status he would have been confronted with on a daily basis, and he would have to find ways to cope with it, Lalami said in an interview. There's also a consequent belief that although he was enslaved by the Spanish, he was not one. While the Spanish interacted with the natives of the New World, he actually became close to the natives of the New World too, by the way. This is what I was mentioning to them as well in the video. Mustafa and a few members of his crew survived a shipwreck on their way from Cuba, then Hispaniola, to Florida, where they intended to colonize the lands of the Native Americans. Mustafa was recognized for his ability to translate any speech by the Spaniards to the locals, perhaps through signs. He continued to retain his ability to speak Arabic. Together with the Spaniards, Mustafa helped to colonize parts of the southwestern United States in the name of Spain. This incidental place, in the scheme of things, highlights the metamorphosis of his identities: free man, slave, and then colonizer, right? He is thought to have been killed in the 1530s by some native population whose descendants continue to recognize Mustafa as one of the colonizers. In El Paso, Texas, a statue stands in his memory. So this goes to show you what this particular brother went through, which actually explains our plight over here now, which is the worst form of slavery. Some of our people have become colonizers of themselves, so to speak. But that still doesn't change the fact of his origin and where he came from. You see, you have some people claiming Moors, they think along the line of dealing with being a colonist. But that ain't what we teaching you now. We are correcting that here under the Moorish American government. We are telling you about why our people was enslaved. That's why Noble Drew Ali said the Moors was enslaved. He said they went into slavery because they began to chase after gods in whom they knew nothing. So slavery is a divine issue. You see? So we don't deny that the Moors took part, in bringing a lot of wrath on themselves. But we also know too that it was Morocco that actually began to initiate the slaving process of the Moors. Because though people think Moors and Moroccans are the same, they are not the same. There's a difference between them. Even Moroccans know that. Problem is with our people, because they have heard certain people, say, we got a Moroccan treaty and all this other type of stuff here. They're getting a misconception of Moorish and Moroccans. That's why you have a Moroccan American society over here of the Moroccans, and they don't acknowledge the Moors. Even though it was Moors over here that aided them to be able to get some of their independence. Moors like our brother Sheikh Frederick Turner L. He was working, with these special ones during the time when they couldn't fly their flag. But that's a whole nother measure. I ain't gonna go there. But I want to point these things out so that our people can see. And just as some of the Moors participated in their own, oppression, look like what we see from survival of the fittest, survival of the best concept. Africa has done this to Africa throughout, that special continent. So for those who always try to put a blanket indictment on the Moors and make it look like the Moors sold their people out, no, we sold each other out. And this deals with pretty much everybody, or probably every religious thought that we can think of here, be they Muslim, Christian, or whatever you want to call it. All of them, all of our people, regardless of what they believe, what tribe they came from, being at war with each other, they have done things that had hurt us as a people. And that's why Noble Drew Ali again said that we went into slavery because we began to chase after gods in whom we knew nothing. So if Prophet Noble Drew Ali is telling our people this, then how can we condemn him when he is condemning the acts that our people basically demonstrated, being unconscious of who they are? Prophet Noble Drew Ali agree with most of you about what happened to our people. But if you are not a part of that special knowledge circle, or if you don't know that's what he was demonstrating or how he was thinking, you're going to put him in the same boat and the Moors who follow him in the same boat, because you have no idea as to what our school of thought is outside of what somebody else told you. So in order to really know, what Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, you got to go and look at his words, his works. For example, if you look at Prophet Noble Drew Ali, when he flew the flag of both Morocco and America, he flew them backwards, family. One arm upside down and the other backwards. And that was because he was showing you that they were in adversity to the principles that they claim to represent. Morocco say, well, they 5-pointed star represent the 5 pillars of Islam. Well, the actions that they demonstrate didn't represent the 5 pillars of Islam. The United States said that their flag represent Old Glory, which the brother tried to say, this is your flag, you're African American, V-Man. But they wasn't demonstrating, the liberty and the justice for all, not where you enslaving a nation of people. See, this is just being factual and truthful. So this is why Noble Drew Ali, when he showed it, I'm going to show you right here for those who don't know what I'm talking about. We want to make it plain to you when we say it. All you got to do is Google this information, family. It's out there. You see that right there? You see how Noble Drew Ali is flying both of these flags? He's flying the United States flag backwards. And that garbage that you heard ones talking about, oh, it looked different if you look from the bottom, that's still upside down. If you inside or outside and you were looking at that from the streets, you still gonna see that as upside down. And anytime you fly that special banner that way, Morocco tell you that is a sign of distress. This ain't something that I'm making up, right? So he is in his office. And actually, nobody really can see what's going on in there. Talking about from down there out there on the street, because if you look behind the banner, there are curtains behind the banner. Look behind that. These are curtains behind the banner, family. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to that, if that's the case, then ain't nobody seeing what's going on up there in that office anyway. But we know from this side, the way it's displayed, above the prophet's head, when you come in his office, you're going to see that one flying backwards, and you're going to see that one flying upside down. Now, I don't know how you're going to get something else out of that right there, other than that. You see what I'm saying? Let me see this here. Because I'm getting ready to go into this special measure that I'm talking about, right? I want you to see what this means. And that's how they always be flying it, because Morocco is at the mercy of somebody else too. See what I'm saying? They talking about the Moroccan embassy has its flag upside down, right? They got a discussion. I don't even know what they talking about here, right? But I know what they talking about, because when you go in here, you know what it is, right? They got all this here. I'm trying to get to the actual meaning. I ain't want to go into pulling up no documents with the vexillology in here. But it goes into showing you. Well, I just go here where they say distressed Moroccan flag t-shirts. You know what I mean? Let's see here. see here. Pull this up here. Okay, we'll just go here. And they go into many different definitions, family. So anytime you deal with this special demonstration, and they didn't get their flag till like 1956, they independence. I'm trying to find that thing. I just had it earlier when I was in here. But anyway, it tells you. See it right there. Where in the world is that post I just had here, man? I ain't leaving until I show it to you. But it ain't hard to find normally. Okay, I tell you what. I'll do it this way right here. Oh, they want to play him. Let's see what this one give me the information. They talk about flying the flags and everything. There it go right there. That's what I was looking for, family. When it was talking about the etiquette of flying the flag, because it tell you how you supposed to hoist it and everything. Half staff, you know, it gives all of that there when you're dealing with grief and when people are mourning, you know, the raising of the flag, lowering of the flag halfway. Distress denoted by flying the Moroccan flag upside down. You see what I'm saying? So anytime you see it flown that way, you know, let's look up the definition of the word distress. Right? In one aspect, it means suffering from anxiety, sorrow, or pain. Right? I was distressed at the news of his death. Another one deals with impoverished. Right? These are some of the definitions that are given. Let us see, can we go a little deeper into it? Right? Of or relating to or experiencing economic decline or difficulty, which was the state that Morocco was in before they actually received their independence. But they have also been in this state because they have been infiltrated and a lot of them have been exiled from their country. You see what I'm saying? So this is what our brother in Prophet Noble Drew Ali, when he flew that special banner, he was trying to show our family. You see, he knew exactly what he was doing. Even here, when you see Prophet Noble Drew Ali with the flags in his hand right here. I'm not trying to play that. But they're giving it to me there. Let me see. I want the picture instead of the video. Let's see. I want to blow it up so you can see it. Okay, let's see. That might be the picture there. Okay, yeah, I think we got the picture here. They should give it to us right here. Okay, there we go right there. Look at that. And on a clear picture, they got the star on here, but this always been a blurred picture right here. But still, he flying them the same way. I don't know why images do that on certain platforms. They won't show all the way. But that ain't no blank flag that he got in his hand. It's the same flag. And he's showing you that they're in adversity to the principles they represented. And a lot of this had to do because they used this same banner, family, allowed the United States to use it to take our people into slavery and bondage. Meaning when George Washington went to the king or the Sultan of Morocco, you know, and he basically asked him, about this special demonstration. As far as being able to move through the waters, because Morocco had control over the waters at the time. He was basically like, yeah, you can go ahead and get on up out here. Prophet Noble he even said that it was asked, for help. And he said, well, y'all can get some of these Moors. They ain't going to do nothing anyway. You know what I mean? And so basically, a lot of this has to do with human trafficking. So you gave, people like George Washington the right to move across the waters, and be unhindered by having basically one of your flags. Put it on the ship and nobody would mess with you because you got this flag flying on it. And that's why I said by the Moor, they say, well, the prophet went up there and got the flag from, Woodrow Wilson. It was in the vote when he went up there, So this basically would have been that same flag if that was the case. You know what I mean? That's conjecture. We don't really know that a special measure there. We heard of that, and it sounds good. But at the end of the day, what we know, when the prophet did display that flag, he displayed it upside down. He displayed it upside down, family. So looking at it from that special standpoint, tell me everything I need to know. In adversity to the principles it represented, because to us, the flag represents love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So if you turn it upside down, it represents the opposite of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. What's the opposite of love? Hatred. What's the opposite of truth? Falsehood. What's the opposite of peace? War. What's the opposite of freedom? Slavery. And what's the opposite of justice? Injustice. Hatred, falsehood, war, bondage and slavery, and injustice. You see? And that's exactly what Morocco was going through. And they went through that because of the fact that the Sultan himself placed that karma on them when he allowed somebody to basically bring our people over here. Some of us were already here, but some of our people were brought over here too. That's another thing. Because people say, well, how you going to be indigenous? Some of y'all were brought. Because some of our people was here and some of them was brought over here. Some of us was here before the European thought about coming here. But nevertheless, when we get back to it, that's why they themselves had to pay for the karma. That's why Morocco is still at the mercy of other nations now, because they participated in these special acts. These are facts. But the problem is when we begin to group our history in with their history, and this is where we get some conflict at. So now when we go further into this special drawing, dealing with these brothers, I also mentioned dual noon to them. I want to bring that up to you as well, because I was asking them that they know the history about dual noon. Because I was telling them that the majority of the Moors in their school of thought, the school of thought that they followed, I was telling them that the Moor school of thought was Sufism. There's no such thing as Sufi Islam. There's no sect called Sufi Islam, family. A Sufi is a Sufi. And a Sufi is basically somewhat just like the Buddhist demonstration. Buddhism is not a religion. Sufism ain't a religion. It's a path. And so I was asking these brothers, did they know that the Moors and their teachings, what they were pushing were more Sufism than the Sunni concept, even though a lot of them came up under the dynasties, in their beginnings of Islam, but they came up under those who were influenced by Sufism. And I was telling them about this brother Dhul Nun, the Egyptian, that they had no knowledge of. See, problem is with me when it comes with this information, when I put a lot of things out there, the audience don't have no knowledge of this because they don't know how much I dug and how long I've been out here doing this. Over 25, right at almost 30 years. You know what I mean? When you round it off, it's really 30 years. I've been dealing with this knowledge. You see what I'm saying? So when I'm saying stuff, it go over a lot of people's head. Because they ain't dug like I dug. They used to listen to what they done read in books. This is my own independent research. And then when I see books that support the research, because For example, I don't read for information. I read for confirmation, a consensus of scholarship. And I don't read just what's favorable, and in line with what it is that I believe. I read even the materials of those who are in opposition to what I believe. Because I know if the enemy is giving this history, the enemy ain't gonna never give you no props. But if it's in their history, in most cases, and it's in everybody else's history, it's just like somebody being put on the scene of a crime. In the court of law, if everybody say you did it, family. So if I look at a document over here from the people of what they like to call, quote unquote, ancient Greece, which we know that ain't what it is, what they call it. If I were to look at certain things from there, and then I go into Saudi Arabia, or then I go into the Cushitic Empire, and all of these things in various places are engraved in stone, written in papyri, which didn't have nothing to do with each other. They didn't have no internet back then. But yet and still, they all have the same history transmitted. That's called consensus, family. And that's good enough for me. So if I get 20, 30 sources of consensus coming from different nations and different sources, that's something I can grasp hold to. I ain't talking about something somebody just came up with and you can't really go back to it. That's consensus. So that's my basis. That's my methodology when I do my research. So nevertheless, listen to what it says about Dhul Nun, which I was trying to tell these individuals. This is a Muslim. Anyway, it says the common premise is that Sufism is an Islamic group practicing a form of mysticism that originated in Persia. As the book progresses, we will find that Sufism has nothing to do with Islam or Persia, and everything to do with the quiet people of ancient Baladi, Egypt. This is our brother Mustafa Gedala talking here. Now, I got other books over here, which is one that I showed them, the book Alchemy. Every book on Sufism, when they get in depth, they always bring up Dhul Nun as being the father of Sufism. So you will find him in many different books mentioned. Also, you will find Dhul Nun mentioned in Orthodox Islamic material, because though he was an Egyptian mystic, not necessarily into Islam, according to being a part of the religious aspect, he is still embraced, his teaching was still embraced by the Islamic world. And that's why you see Muslims referring to him. You see? So it says the claim of a Persian origin of Sufism is also wrong. The Persians themselves refer to Egypt as the source of Sufism. For example, the Egyptian Dhul Nun died 860 CE, is recognized in all Islamized Sufi references as the spiritual source of Sufism. You see, they think I'm just spewing this stuff out the side of my neck and making this stuff up. And this stuff I know for like as long as I just told you I've been studying, 25, 30 years. It say, who prepared the way for the presently known form of Islamized Sufism? Sufis claim him for their own as a leader and the originator of important concepts, such as the mystic's direct knowledge or gnosis of God, and the stations and the states of the spiritual path. Dhul Nun was knowledgeable of the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. As a matter of fact, he was one of the ones who first attempted to translate them outside of Hor Apollo, before Ewalis Budge, before Champollion. Dhul Nun had already had his own version of this. He was a chematologist, family. A number of short treatises are attributed to him which deal with alchemy, magic, and medicine. Thoth, Tehuti, the ancient Egyptian nether god, this is also something I was trying to tell him, is recognized by all early and later Sufi writers as an ancient model of alchemy, right? Which is alchemy, Kemet. That's where that comes from. Mysticism and all related subjects. I got a whole bunch of information on this right here I can pull up, but view in the light of me trying to have time on the manifest, And I don't want to go too far in a whole bunch of other stuff. I want to get to this African fact book, you know, to confirm my conversation with these brothers and show you. I'm already showing you about Mustafa Zamuri, and I'm showing you about our brother Dual Noon here, and confirming what I said in the video. I'm saying it, and I'm going to run the video back again once I get done with this information so you can see, after me presenting this, that them brothers don't know what they talking about. Now, like I say, Sekou admitted, you know, that he's not knowledgeable. This other brother, V-Man, however, was pushing the line like he knew everything, and I knew by what he said, because see, that's the thing. When you learn something, and you study family, and you listen to the information people put out, they don't know. If you learned enough, you can hear the source in their school of thought, where they're coming from, and you can tell where they are along the way in their knowledge. And he was just somebody that liked the loud talk. You seen him kept talking over me as I was speaking. He was trying to debate, and it wasn't even a debate. I was just in there asking questions, but he was trying to debate. I'm dialogue. You see, I wasn't moved by that. I shook by that, though. You see? Because I was trying to make a point and get to a point. So it says, the well-known Sufi writer Idris Shah, who was an Iranian Persian himself, admits the role of Egypt via Thoth. Tehuti, another name for Tehuti, that's just the Greek form as they like to call it. It's saying Dual Noon on Sufism and alchemy as follows. Listen to what he's saying. Now, Idris Shah is a known Islamic scholar, is accepted by, just like Dual Noon is. It says Thoth's name, well, it says the alchemical law upon himself came from Egypt, directly from the writings of Thoth. According to Sufi tradition, the law was transmitted through who? Again, Dual Noon, the Egyptian king, the lord of the fish, one of the most famous classical Sufi teachers. Huh? What's wrong with you people? That when somebody give you a source and show you the truth, you still call it pseudo because you didn't do the research. You didn't find it. But if a European put this same information out here and they did a video on it, or if them brothers that was just speaking in that video from Africa said it, you would take it as the gospel truth. But just because it's somebody that is here, one of our people giving it to you, it got to be fake because you never heard it before. Your master teacher didn't teach it to you. So it's not right. That's ignorance. That's retarded. We got to wake up from that special type. That's called selective research based upon biasness. And you got to be a real megalomaniac, narcissistic fanatic, you know, to behave and think that way. And I don't say that to be mean to our people, but I'm just giving it to you as it is. We got to stop it with the selective research. When you see something and the source is out there and somebody tell you something and they show you the source, that's all it should be. Then you know they ain't just talking. They didn't just make this stuff up. You see what I'm saying? So Thoth name appears among the ancient masters of what is now called the way of the Sufis. In other words, both the Sufis and the alchemists recognize Tehuti as the foundation of their knowledge. Idris Shah also makes a direct reference to the Spanish Arab historian Said of Toledo, died in 1069, who gives this tradition part himself of the ancient Egyptian Thoth, aka Hermes, which is another name that they come up with, Hermes Trismegistus, you know, which is if actually in line with the Arabic Idris. You see, sages affirm that all antediluvian sciences, because we got a lot of people like to throw this word antediluvian out here. You know what I mean? We know a whole lot about the antediluvian sciences. We've been studying it for as long as we've been studying the information. Sages affirm that all antediluvian sciences originate with the Egyptian Hermes Thoth. In Upper Egypt, the Jews call him Enoch. So that's why you always hear me saying that Enoch and Tehuti is the same. And this, you can go look it up. Look at the story of Enoch going into the heavens and look at the emerald tablets of Tehuti and watch what you see. It says in the Muslims, Idris, he was known, in other words, in the Quran, they call him Akhnuk, which is close to Akhenaten. Akhnuk, then Idris. Idris, you can see it rhymes with Tris, Hermes Tris Megasis, thrice time the greatest. The name Idris has to do with basically one that he who is wise, or he who is learned. And this is coinciding also with the Tehudi, the one who was the master teacher. He had to be learned in order to be able to be the master teacher, the father of the language. It say he was the first who spoke of the material of the superior world and planetary movements. This is what they saying now. Ain't that's what was spoken of in the Emerald Tablets? And that's the same thing Enoch said, Akhnuk, Ben Idris, right? Medicine and poetry were his functions, as well as the sciences, including alchemy and magic, right? So you get a chance, get this book, Egyptian Mystics, Seekers of the Way. This is not my only source on this special matter. It's just the closest one to me right now. You see what I'm saying? So, and I would let you brothers come up in here too if you would like to. If you want to come in here when I'm done demonstrating, you know, we'll bring these measures on the manifest. It was during the 1500s too, my brother. You know, that's when the brother Mustafa came forth. So peace and love to you for that question. And y'all can drop your questions in here and stay tuned in, you know, so you can get this drawing right here. But yeah, all of this stuff is information that's out here for the public to know, though. You know, this ain't something that is a secret, you know, something that has not been known. But like I said, these brothers just didn't know. And I ain't beating them down for not knowing. I'm beating our people down for all that box banging they be doing, you know, on these special videos, you know, because they are biased towards information. That's another thing. That's another reason why we can't learn. If you hate a Hebrew, and that Hebrew, as you call them, you know what I mean, Israelite brother, if you hate them, and they are bringing you something from their particular text that's actually written in the text, and you reject it because you don't like their school of thought, that's ignorance. If you reject somebody that's demonstrating as Muslim, and they bring something forth to you, you know, Hindu, Buddhist, it go all the way around the board, because we draw from all schools of thoughts over here. We respect all schools of thought, and all prophets, all divine warnings. We respect all books over here. You know, and that's what I'm trying to get our family to see, the unity, as opposed to the disunity. We call that a demarcated thought pattern, a thought pattern that's hell-bent on division and separation. I don't use my knowledge to separate my people. I use my knowledge to bridge the gap. Even though when they hear this information, that go for Moors. There are Moors that have a misunderstanding of what I present to them. And so they take it as one is attacking them because they haven't been taught that by their teachers. Even if they can go and see that it's right, they Google it, and I know they go do the research because they hear me making the claims that I make. I know they do the research, and they come up with the same special outcome, but they are dishonest and they are biased because they have come up under somebody that has taught them to hate my particular school of thought or where I come from, so they don't want to accept the information. That's ignorance, family. You mad at the message because you don't like the messenger. The message has been here longer than all of us. That's just like people who reject prophets because of the actions that men demonstrate. These are the actions that these men are demonstrating, not the prophets. So what are you throwing the baby out with the bathwater for? You see, this is because most of our people don't know how to categorize the information that they have. And they are confused when it comes to the information because they are not well founded. They moving with every wind of doctrine. Nothing wrong with studying, but root yourself in something. You got to tie your camel to a date palm tree, family. I don't care if it's Islam or whatever it is that you dealing with, but be rooted in that, and you won't feel offended when somebody else is presenting information. And the only reason people reject what it is that you put out here in the first place is because it has shooken their foundation. You can't shake my foundation. Whatever you bring me, you see me up there with 4. Even our brother Sarnetta was getting his little rocks off on me, right? But you see me holding my own and still putting that truth out there. Because I've been doing this for a long time, family. I never get mad at anybody about this information. And I understand, again, where our people are along the way. And just because you get a group of individuals that are biased against the information, clicking up, saying pseudo, crying pseudo, it's wrong. The general opinion of men would never alter the nature of the truth. You know, that's called intellectual or religious game banging. I'm against him because he don't believe what I believe. I'm against him because he don't see it the way I see it. I don't demonstrate like that, family. I'm not here to master somebody else's mind and dictate what it is that they should believe. All I'm doing is setting information out here. Like when you see me on my page, those of you who see me on Facebook, when I'm setting information out on Facebook, I'm setting that out for the people. I'm not setting that information out, to attack anybody. I'm just setting the information out there. But if you have a misconception, you're looking at it like somebody trying to attack your school of thought. And this is what let me know you're not rooted in what you say you stand on. But that's all right, though. I don't hold that against you either. That's your journey. That's your process of unfoldment. But let me go on into this special measure. Because our brothers say they from Africa and they don't teach nothing. The Moors ain't even part of the paradigm. Now this book, this African fact book, right, it's called Busting the Myths, right? Look at this. I want you to see the author, Brother Bafur Akuma, right? This is the editor, right? This is the editorial board on this book. They all from Africa, family. These are people that evidently, pardon self, and obviously have some say-so in Africa. Professor Simbi Mubako, Pritchard Zoe, Ambassador Kwame Muzawazi. So these are actual politicians. This is all Africa. The designer of the book, it was just posted 2 years ago. Not quite, but a little over, a year and a half. September 2020, printed in South Africa. So this is their perspective. This ain't even from over here now. They give all their thanks and everything on this special demonstration. They put the seal of, African Union, and this is a textbook, 800 pages. So you trying to tell me, family, when it comes to dealing with the Moors that they ain't mentioned here, that they don't have any mention, and that them being mentioned is not a factor in Africa. This is what our brothers told us now. Now he got to stand on that. Because I done showed you everything that I claim. I showed you Mustafa Zamuri. I showed you Dual Noon, and the fact that those teachings in Sufism come through the Kemetic lineage from Tahuti. Now I'm finna show you this other stuff we talked about, the Moors, and I'm finna show you the concept they even spoke on John Blumenbeck in here. And look like we even got a relative of our brother Sheikh Anta Diop in here, Brother Abdullah Diop, Chief of Staff. These are all Africans now. This is what they teach, and I commend them on this. I want to make sure we get this to y'all. So these are people that did groundwork research, that they like to call it, right? This is what they feel need be important. They gave shots out because a lot of their quotes come from a lot of scholars that were also over here in the diaspora, or the diaspora, pardon self. So, they gave shots out to Brother Chikanta Diop, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, some of the people that brother was mentioning. A.A. Kiwi Arma, Chancellor Williams, Ivan Van Servan, some of the people you heard me speak of, Theopile Obinga, Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakanan, G.M. James, Huh? Louis Gate Jr. They look at these people, man. They giving honors to all these scholars because they basically saying they took from a lot of this stuff and they co-sign it. So these are brothers in the East that co-sign this stuff. Now let me get to the first matter at hand. We ain't gonna be long on this. We gotta make sure y'all get it though. So when them brothers say that they ain't demonstrating like this in Africa and they don't acknowledge the Moors, these brothers don't know. You can't teach what you don't know, family. So I respect what the brother was saying. You know, that's why you see me nod my head with him, you know, because I respect his opinion. You know, and he was sincere in his opinion. But sometimes, family, you got to realize no matter how sincere you are, you can be sincerely wrong as well. So look, right here, race as a modern idea. Race as an idea has not always been with us. The term, according to historians, was first used in the 15th century by an English poet to refer to a line of British kings. Other historians trace the beginnings of the term to about 1580 when it was introduced into the English language to denote people of common descent. Increasingly, the term came to refer to various nations, such as the German race, the British race, the Russian race, etc. The modern use of the term can be traced to the 19th century and the advent of the European Enlightenment movement. Scholars at that time, with their preoccupation with positivism, or the application of science in the study of human society, led the way to scientific racism. This is very important, family. Scientific racism. It's the classification of human species into subgroups or categories in the manner that the fauna or the flora or the plant and animal types were pigeonholed by biological scientists. All of this is scientific racism. When you hear about hermetic hypotheses, that's scientific racism. When you hear about eugenics, when you hear about Darwinism, all of this is scientific racism. The pioneer in this field was the Frenchman, Francis Birner. Who classified the human race into 4 categories: Europeans, including South Asians, North Africans, and Native Americans, excluding Lapps, Far Easterners, Sub-Saharan African, and Lapps. After Birner, a long line of the so-called naturalists emerged, including George Cuvier, James Cowles, Pritchard, Louis Agassiz. It says in Charles Pickering, John Frederick Blumenbeck, whom I mentioned to these brothers, Arthur Committee de Gorbigny, and each with his own number of racial groups. So all these Europeans came up with their racial groups. The most influential, which we have to be adopted all the way into this time, while you have these terms used. Now note, this is scientific racism. The most influential of them all was the German Blumenbeck, who identified 5 races. 1, the Caucasian or white race, into which he lumped the greater part of the European nation and those of Western Asia. 2, the Mongolian or yellow race, occupying the Tatari, China, Japan, etc. 3, the Ethiopian or black race. So when you're dealing with colorism, scientific racism, this came from John Blumenbeck. So when you run around here talking about you part of the black race, you black and you proud, I'm just giving you the information. We can't help that we were duped and we were deceived, family. This is not a nationality. This is a description. And we didn't even give the description. Somebody else gave that description. Black race inhabited most of Africa except the north. Who were those people in the north? Didn't they say they were Moors? Australia, New Guinea, right? It says, and other Pacific islands, and the American or the red race, which occupies the North and South America, the Malayan brown race, which occupied the islands of the Indian and archipelago. So when you're looking at all this special measure here, family, they close it out by saying this. Unsurprisingly, all these European race categorizers place the European white race on top of the human pile. The European race was not only assigned the best of human characteristics, it was also elevated to the apex of human civilization. For instance, Blumenbeck allotted the first place on the human ladder to the Caucasian race by contending that this stock displays the most handsome features. He wrote, "They have the kind of appearance which, according to our opinion of symmetry, we consider the most handsome and becoming." This is why you think that, curly hair as a result of mixing and, a pointed nose and small lips and all this, you think that these features are beautiful because it was fed to you on a platter to be accepted that way, right? The other races are believed to have been degenerates of the Caucasian stock. The Caucasian white European race then was made a yardstick with which other races were measured. Several pseudo-scientific experiments, see, this is the proper application of that word pseudo. You talking about what you call scientific racism, that's pseudoscience. Several pseudo-scientific experiments were carried out and aimed at proving the intellectual superiority of the European race. In particular, these scientific races employing several techniques and theories, including craniometry, craniometry, that's it, craniometry, the technique of measuring the bones of the skull in the phrenology. It says a theory which claimed to be able to determine the character and personality traits and criminality on the basis of the shape of the head. Tried to desperately to prove intellectual, moral, and ethical superiority of whites to non-whites. You see? So we see here, family, pseudo scientific experiments. They did this with the sister Sarah Bartman as well. Who was basically from a tribe in Africa. They cut the sisters private and everything out, put them up on display. She was viewed as a specimen because of her large buttocks. Some people even try to say that, the term thought, as the young generation used over here, had to do with coming from Hottentot. But we found upon investigation that Hottentot was just another way of speaking of the Khoisan and the Khoi people, so to speak. But that's a whole nother measure. We'll get into that later. So, yeah, they saying the same thing. Now, these the African brothers. I didn't even know nothing about this right here. Prior to me building with these brothers last night, I didn't know that this book existed. But it ain't strange, because that's how the Most High always dropped things on me. He always dropped that support on me. After I done did my own research, my due diligence, and now we got a whole paradigm that's being taught over there. That's a powerful demonstration. Now let's go further. If you think that's something dealing with this special book, watch this. Let's see what they got to say about the Moors in this book, this African fat book. I believe everybody over here need to get a copy of this one. They got a lot on Kemet in here and everything. I like the way they was comparing the story of Solomon to that of Amenemhat, showing how they plagiarize certain things from our people. This is what I'm getting at right here. This is in this book. And they got a whole section. I ain't going to read it all. I actually dropped this PDF on our family early this morning. I've been dropping it on them since I came across it last night. But this is the religious book. This book, if you homeschooling your children, you should have this as the means of teaching them their social sciences and social studies. I'm recommending that you use this if you homeschooling your seed. And notice they titled it The Moors, Africa's Gift to Europe. It says, if you believe conventional wisdom, Africa has contributed nothing to the world's civilization. How big that myth is can be gauged from the great efforts that Western historians have made to hide the immense contributions that Africa made to the civilization of Europe in the Middle Ages. So total has been this great deception that the majority of the world today, chief among them Africans, do not know about the glorious Africans who conquered and ruled southern Europe for 781 years between 711 AD and 1492 AD. And them brothers on that panel last night on the show, they're a prime example of what's being stated here. Majority, chief among them, Africans that do not know about the glorious Africans who conquered and ruled southern Europe for 780. They don't know this. And I know they didn't know it by what they were saying. But that's all right. We're going to teach them. They're going to learn today. And those over here who thought they know. It's coming from our brothers in Africa. Since everybody want to believe what our African brothers say, it's a whole book written about them on our history. Watch this. And in the process brought civilization, education, and general enlightenment to the world, the whole of Europe, right? And then steeped in its dark ages. This is a story about African ingenuity, brilliance, and resourcefulness. But it is not acknowledged in contemporary history by Europeans or Westerners in general. At best, they give the credit to Arabs or Muslims, as if an African who converts to Islam ceases to be an African. See, this is what y'all failing to realize for y'all that keep giving that credit to them Arabs for what the Moors did. Them brothers in Africa don't agree with that. These brothers don't. And they got influence in Africa. It is like saying a Nigerian ceases to be a Nigerian because he becomes a Christian. That is the kind of intellectual somersault employed by Euro-American historians that has ensured that the glorious history of the Africans called the Moors, who conquered the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, and Portugal in 711 AD and almost 800 years after, brought civilization to the whole of Europe, is not known even by most Africans. And proof on that show last night has to do with the way these brothers basically were responding. They were knowledgeable in certain areas, but they weren't knowledgeable in this area. Nothing wrong with that. But at least one had the sense and the honesty to admit that he didn't know. He said, you may have your sources. He didn't know. Oh, yeah, I got plenty of sources. And I ain't even pulling my sources out. I'm just showing you from the horse's mouth, from their people. I got plenty of them. Y'all done seen me set it out before, right? They say he who is born a fool is never cured. I like how they add them little excerpts in here, from certain measures as well, to them little statements they make. So they were speaking here as well. So the idea that the African was in a frozen state until discovered by the Europeans in the mid-15th century is a myth that shames the modern world. What the African did or was doing before the mid-15th century, the European has nothing to say about, which leads John G. Jackson, an African-American historian and author, to say that the curious idea that a great white race has been responsible for all great civilizations of the past is nothing more than a crude superstition propagated mainly by European-oriented racist historians. Today, as Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, another great African-American historian, once said, it would seem like racial chauvinism to suggest that Africans played a major role in the occupation and enlightenment of a critical part of Europe. And that was the Castle of Alhambra as well, family, that they were showing you here. This was built by the Moors. And that's the thing, too. We invented so many sciences. There's something very deep-seated in many European historian or scholars that makes him refuse to accord the African. And it is usually on the African any credit for anything at all. European historians are happy to credit the Chinese, Indian, and the Mongolian, the Arab, and anybody else for their contribution to world civilization. Not the African. We all know this. Even when the feat is or was clearly archived. That's right, though, but achieved by an African, it says on an African soil. European Western historians like to attribute it to some Caucasoid or other elements who descended from somewhere and achieved that feat on African soil. This anybody but the African madness has been at the heart of the contortions that has afflicted many Western historians. He said you can't catch a loss with one finger. So they went on. Scholars, writers, and journalists in their explanation of the presence of the Moors in Europe and the civilization and enlightenment they brought to a continent then groping in darkness. The Moors were a people from both ancient Mauritania, listen, and a country, right? A country which covered the area now occupied by Morocco and Western Algeria and other parts of Western Africa, all the way down from today's Morocco to Senegal, Mali, and the Sahelian countries. Some accounts even say it included people from northern Guyana, right? It says they had been converted to Islam after the conquest of North Africa by the Arabs in 708 AD. As Muslims, they spoke Arabic, the language of Islam and later science in the Middle Ages, but by nationality and identity, they were Africans. It says through and through. And their identity was Moors, right? According to Jane Carew, the Guyana-born historian, author, and scholar, there's an instinctive, deep-seated reluctance on the part of Eurocentric historians to acknowledge the Moors as the bringers of cultural and scientific enlightenment to Europe. And when they are compelled to make grudging acknowledgments of this fact, they proceed to whiten the Moors, to tear them away from any suggestion of having black African roots. And most of our people in the West accept that garbage. Hollering the Moors is white, the Moors is European, the Moors is, see how we've been taught? It says, but the stubborn fact remains that between the 1711 AD and 1492, these Africans called the Moors, together with their Islamic colleagues from Arabia, put southern Europe to the sword, conquered it and governed it, and brought civilization and general enlightenment to Europe as the whole. They call that the golden age of the Moors. This was the age of enlightenment. This is when all them sciences come on to manifest. It was the Moors that mainly translated a lot of things when it comes to alchemy and all the medicine and science, and had the keys to the ancient Kemetic teaching. But it says Spain and Portugal were one country at a time, and they became the first to benefit from the enlightenment brought by the African warrior scholars from the northwest and the west of the continent. With Spain and Portugal in their firm grip, the Moors proceeded to conquer southern France, then Sicily, which they ruled for over 200 years, Crete for another 125 years. They also conquered parts of the mainland, southern Italy, even besieged and sacked Rome in 846 AD, and in the process took a lot of spoils from the Vatican, and some of which they are later returned for gold. But if you read the works of most Western historians, they claim the Moors were Arabs, not Africans, because they were Muslims and spoke Arabic. Do y'all get that? Did you get it? But if you read the works of most Western historians, they claim the Moors were Arabs, not Africans, because they were Muslims and spoke Arabic. So they lumped them in one group. But being a Muslim is not a nationality. Let me get that to you again. Being a Muslim is not a nationality. I'm going to say that one more time. Being a Muslim is not a nationality. It only denotes one's religion or religious belief. It is why the European ancestors of the contemporary European historians categorically stated that the people they lived with during 781 years of the Moors were black. In addition, the evidence of Moor heads on the coat of arms, right, or heraldry of many European noble families all over Europe showed the Moors to have been black. And this is the way that they are giving the description, because this is the way they modern like to give it. They're referring to the melanation. This is the description. This ain't got nothing to do with a nationality. It's describing what the Moor look like, and the Moors really physically don't look black. All of them. Some of them look like that right there. That's real dark. But most of us, we got different hues. Some of us lighter, due to the amalgamation and mixing and raping that took place under the European. It says the refusal by contemporary European Western historians to accept this plain fact and to place the Moors in their rightful home in Africa is a part of the centuries-old denial of remarkable African achievements by European historians and scholars, and therefore should be rejected with the contempt it deserves. That's why you hear me getting on these brothers, telling them it's time that we write our own history. This book is a good start from that. We can springboard ourselves into writing our own history when we have information like this on the manifest. It bridges the gaps. It brings about the unity. It says that dishonesty cannot last forever. In fact, it no longer holds, as many African descended historians and scholars have painstakingly studied and examined the nationality and achievement of the Moors, and have concluded beyond every reasonable doubt that though the Moors worked with some of their earlier Arab conquerors of North African invasion of Spain and Portugal in 711 AD, the subsequent 781-year rule of the Iberian Peninsula and Southern Europe and the civilization this brought to Europe as a whole cannot be credited to Arabs or Arabs only. This is because Jan Carew explains, at the height of its power, the Moorish Empire in Africa stretched from the western half of Algeria through Morocco as far as Ghana, while in Europe this empire extended itself from the Atlantic coast of Portugal through Spain across the Pyrenees to Rhone Valley in France. Wayne B. Chandler, the African-American historian and writer, confirms that although the term Moor has been put to diverse use, the roots are still traceable. Now, I done showed y'all that a million times when it comes to etymology. I done showed y'all how to trace the M and R all the way back to Amun-Ra in ancient Kemet. It don't get you can't go no further than that. The hidden light that become manifest, and if you go into what they like to call the Hebrew language, and you go into the Bible, when it say let there be light, the word Moor is used there, and that word Moor is what they call a masculine noun. And that masculine noun refers to what they call a luminary, right? Or light being. So this is how far it go back. So when you come up into the modern time, you'll find names like Demari, which is what the word Moor actually came through directly. And Demari mean Moorish gods. The Demari people actually paid veneration to Amen. The people of Carthaginian culture, as well as a whole bunch of the Libyans, all of them honored Amen. And it was the priesthood of Amun-Ra that was known as the Mari or the Mir, the Mary. See, that's etymology for you. This ain't stuff I'm making up. I done already showed it. Go look at my videos on it. The country of the Maoris of Mauritania, not to be confused with Islamic Republic of Mauritania in present-day West Africa, although obviously the root is the same, existed in what is now northern Morocco and western Algeria. Other historians attest that at certain time, foreigners like Greeks and Romans who came to North Africa called the original inhabitants by the generic name Berbers. And that's the truth. They did try to put that title Berbers on us, especially them Arabs. Because when they seen the terminology, I got a book too. Get the book called Inventing the Berbers. And it tell you that they used that name, but the original name that was used was Maury. And they did that. They call us barbarian because they weren't going to call us no Moorish gods. These are Orthodox Muslims. You think they finna call us Moorish gods, family? So no, they like, no, y'all barbarians. You know what I mean? That's what y'all is. But it was these same Moors that fought the Arabs and ran they behind back over there, in Saudi Arabia, because they was taxing the brothers. It was the Moors that fought against the Umayyad Caliph or the Caliphate. So stop trying to make it seem like the Moors you know, and the Orthodox brother was so close because they really wasn't that close. General Tariq, you know, the mountain, the man of the mountain, he wasn't even having it, family. You talk about King Musa, one of the wealthiest in Africa. These was related to each other. This is where your Mali Empire and all that come from that these brothers was talking about. Huh? So it says, but these original Berbers were people from different ethnic backgrounds and nationalities who occupied the whole northern parts of Africa before the Arab conquest of 708 AD. They had their own original individual ethnic names before the Greeks called them and the Romans called them Berbers. And I keep telling our family the name Mari was the name of the native people, the indigenous people. European and the Greeks and the Romans came later and gave them other names. But our people so ignorant with that selective researching, they want to hear what they want to hear because it goes against the people that they have a dislike for, they bias. So they look for selective researching and they see the same definition that we see when we're looking at it, but they're looking for those things that are perceived as negative, that would cast the Moors in a negative light, as opposed to looking at the truth of the matter. It says, and they were mainly black and affiliated, it say, with the then contemporary people of East African area. Mamadou Tinyelu, another historian and writer, explains that when the Africans in the northern part of the continent first assumed the name Berber, it is not certain, but by the time of the Islamic conquest of North Africa, this name was in common usage. Tinyelu's view is supported by the anthropologist Dana Renner. Shout out to the sister. Still on the manifest now. You know, she was basically one of the ones that drawed heavily from a lot of them different scholars. You know, especially Ivan Van Sertima. I think, as a matter of fact, she may even have some words in his book. She do, as a matter of fact. But it says, who confirms that the original black Berbers, who were called Moors, were the North African ancestors of the present day dark brown and dark brown and brown black peoples of the Sahara and the Sahel, mainly those called Fulani, right? Tuareg, Zanaga of the southern Morocco, Kunta, and Tebu of Sahel countries, as well as other black Arabs now living in Mauritania and throughout the Sahel. They include Trarza, estates of Mauritania and Senegal and Maghreba. It says, well as dozens of other Sudanese tribes and the Kemba of Chad and Algeria. Even the Oxford Dictionary defined Moors as the people who are commonly supposed to be black, are very dark, and is synonymous with the word for Negro in many contexts, right? Now, this is the Europeans' definition that is given, but it's just trying to show you the people that they refer. You know they refer to our people as black. You know they refer to our people as Negro. That's their description. That's not the nationality. That ain't what we meant by it. We have another meaning by these words. Later, the term Moor was applied to blacks in general during the European Renaissance when explorers, writers, and scholars began to use it. The earlier Greeks called them Moros. Not Mari, they called us Moros. That was their adaptation of the name Moros from Mari. And the Romans, Marus. See, they're keeping that M-A-U-R root though, right? In the Romance languages, Spanish, French, and Italian, Moor was translated as Maru. Spanish, Moor. French, Moor. Italian. English called the term Moors. The German, Maury. The Dutch, Mores. But all these meant black or dark people, right? So these were just people through etymology tracing, you know, this word. So everybody agreed in their language that they was referred to as Moors. That's a consensus right there, just on the language alone. History shows that the Arabs who conquered North Africa in 708 AD rarely used the word Moor. Instead, they called the original people of North Africa Berber to cover practically all the inhabitants of the Maghreb, Islamic North Africa west of Egypt. Fortunately for the Africans, the Christians who were defeated by the Moors in the Iberian Peninsula and other parts of Europe left vivid images of the Muslim Africans. Today, Christian paintings and sculptures are an indisputable witness to the black presence in Europe and how important blacks were to the Europeans at that time. Another source of evidence is the coat of arms or heraldry of European noble families who honored the Moors by putting their heads on their insignia. It says such illustration, says professional Renoko Rashidi, an African-centric historian, are to be found in the canticles of Santa Maria, right? Now, the Santa Maria, the ship actually that was found too, I met the son of the man that found the Santa Maria, you know, and all of the Pinta and all of these ships that he talked about, the baby shackles, adult shackles. I'm talking about Cain Fisher, the son of Mel Fisher, world greatest treasure hunter. The European died looking for the lost city of Atlantis. Every time he dropped his anchor, he found bullion and gold. But nevertheless, his son told me about, that. And that's where I came into a knowledge of knowing the rules about the gold and maritime law. Actually, a little bit more in depth, the importance of it, because he said the man that owned the gold make the rules. That's a whole nother measure. Look them up on YouTube. You'll see who I'm talking about. They was in Key West, Florida. They are filled with images of the Moor and mostly black types. This is the period of the Almoravid invasion, which brought hordes of new Africans into the Iberian Peninsula. Medieval illustrations of the cantigas portray blacks in a variety of roles, from members of the aristocracy, to the military. It goes further into the Moors in Spain as well. It say Moors in Spain haven't settled the issues about their identity and nationality. Now let's move to what the Moors actually did. Before the Moors invaded the Iberian Peninsula in 711 AD, there had been two earlier African invasions of Spain and Portugal in history. This was made possible because of the proximity of Europe to Africa. There are only a few dozens of nautical miles of the Mediterranean Sea separating the southernmost point of Europe off Gibraltar from the northernmost point of Africa off Morocco. Dr. Ivan van Sertima made the following important point. The fact that Africans from the north had been intruding into southern Europe from very early times should not come as a great surprise, for the straits that separate the two continents can be crossed by simplest boats in a matter of hours. The proximity of the borders of Europe and Africa and the evidence of the African phenotype among many southern Europeans led Napoleon to remark that Africa begins at the Pyrenees, which is why Napoleon took part in blowing up some things over there and trying to remix some things, right? It say, but as it were, it was the third major invasion of Spain by the Africans that changed everything for Europe, and this was by the Moors. In 711 AD, history shows that shortly after the Arab conquest of North Africa in 708 AD, General Tariq and the African and the Berber was placed in charge of Morocco by the Muslim governor Musa ibn Nusayr. Tariq's dominion included all but the island of Ceuta. It says Ceuta. It says an outpost of the Greek Empire resting in northern tip of Morocco near the present-day Tangiers, which was ruled by Count Julian, a Greek governor. Julian was a good friend of Spain, then under the rule of the Visigoths, right? A Germanic tribe that had conquered and ruled Spain for 200 years after toppling the Roman Empire in the Iberian Peninsula. The then monarch of the Visigoths, King Roderick, had been given the charge of the daughter of Count Julian of Ceuta, While the girl was in training at Roderick's, they said a bad son gives a bad name to his mother. Roderick's court. It says, but Roderick took advantage of the girl and raped her. And this infuriated her father, Count Julian, who out of anger and revenge persuaded General Tyrique de Berber to invade Spain, promising that he would give Tyrique his own boats to help in the invasion. Julian even provided extra intelligence information by assuring Tyrique that Spain was unprotected and that the Visigoths would be of no match for him. Like a good general, Tyrique consulted his boss, Musa ibn Nasser, and then sent a reconnaissance, it says, mission into Spain, 711 AD, led by Tyrique, a black show officer. Crossing over from the north of what is today's Morocco, but then called Mauritania, Tyrique and his men landed at a place near Europe's southernmost part of Africa. The place was later named Tarifa in his honor. Tyrique set up a custom house there, and because of his noble activities, his name became the root for the day's customs word tariff. In July 710 AD, Tariff's mission came back to report of a Spain ready for the taking. His report was music to the ears of General Tyrique, who now had the needed information for an attack on Spain. Nevertheless, it took over a year for Tyrique to prepare for the attack, which began in the earliest 711 AD. Tyrique's army landed on an isthmus between the encampment, then called Mons Calpe, in mainland Europe. Tyrique seized the isthmus, and considering it militarily strategic, he asked that a fortress be built at the site. His men later named the fortress Jebel Tyrique, the mountain of Tyrique, after him. This was later corrupted to Gibraltar. Having now secured the base on mainland Europe, Tyrique, with about 7,000 Berber African troops, 300 Arabs, proceeded to engage King Roderick, who was leading some 60,000 troops at the Jananda Lagoon by the mouth of the Barbate River in southwest Spain. The date was the 18th of July, 711 AD. As Tyrique's army was massively outnumbered, he turned to his soldiers and addressed them thus: my men, whither can you flee? Behind you lies the sea, and before you the foe. You possess only your courage and constancy, for you are present in this country poorer than orphans before greedy guardians' table. It said two hippopotamus can't share the same hole. These African proverbs, something else, right? It say it will be easy to turn the table on him if you will, but risk death for once instance. That's what we try to tell our people. If you find something that you're willing to lay your life down for, you will be more successful in what it is that you try to demonstrate when it comes to self-determination. I agree with General Tyrique. Salute to him for telling these people this. You know, either you go for it, the freedom, fighting for it, or you die. Either way. So it said Tyrique's men chose to risk death and stood their ground and scored a major victory over King Roderick that day. With the Visigoths vanished, Tyrique set out to enlarge his territory. He was pleasantly surprised to find that along the way, through the Spanish countryside, many of the natives were fed up with the oppression of the Visigoths and were too happy to join his invading army. Now that's what you call a law wheel there. Thus, instead, he already had him an army over there. Thus, instead of Tyrique's army dwindling through attrition, it states it actually grew in size and power. Soon the entire Spain at the time of Portugal was part of Spain, came under Tyrique's control, with reinforcements crossing over from old Mauritania. The Africans, who would later be called Moors, and their Arabic colleagues proceeded to lay the foundations of a new civilization in Spain. First, they changed the name of the country to Al-Andalus, and later moved the capital from Seville to Cordova, which according to the English historian Stanley Lane Poole, they turned it into a marvel of the Middle Ages. The African-American writer and historian W.B. Du Bois underscored the fact that Spain was conquered not by Arabs, but by armies of Berbers and Negroes, at times led by Arabs. Here's a picture of one of the Medici. For those of you who don't know who the Medici family is, a lot of them go back to the time of Machiavelli. You know, a lot of this is where your Italian mafia get a lot of their stratagems from. And a lot of that came from Hannibal as well. That's why they call certain Italians Roman niggas and all this type of stuff here. You know what I mean? So it goes on. It states, the first dynasty of the first Moorish family to govern Spain was Umayyad dynasty. Although Tariq led the invasion, he himself never ruled Spain, but other Moors did. Their rule was especially benevolent, as the native Spaniards were allowed to keep their own customs, religion, language, as well as civil independence. They were also allowed to keep their own churches, judges, courts, counts, bishops, although the Moorish authorities retained the right to approve the bishops. With time, many Spaniards, including Christian noblemen, converted to Islam. Using Spain as their base, the Moors took control of Sicily for over 200 years and Crete for 125 years, and more followed between 717 and 719. The Moorish ruler Al-Hur ibn Abdul Rahman crossed into southern France with his army, using difficult passes for the Pyrenees. At the time, Switzerland was a part of France. But the unrest back home in Al-Andalus brought doom to Abdul Rahman's mission. It was not until 729 another Moorish ruler, Hayatim ibn Ubayd, was successful in capturing lion-making and Chalon-sur-Saône in southern France. Decades later, when Abd-Samad ibn Malik ascended the Moorish throne, he transferred the Spanish capital from Seville to Cordova and completely reorganized the finances and tax system in the country. He also carried out impressive public works and did an extensive survey of the land. Malik died in May 721 AD and was replaced by Abdul Rahman and Ibn Abdullah, who, like his predecessors, crossed the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees, and again, this time delivered a crushing blow to the Duke Eudes. Abdullah went on to sack Bordeaux and Pontiers, but his luck ran out in Tours in 732 AD when he was suddenly defeated by Charles Martel, the grandson of Charlemagne. Sadly, Abdullah lost his life in the battle against Martel, and Tours marked the western limit of the Moorish Empire. The Moors, however, remained in southern France until 1140 AD, principally in Chamarque on the western Riviera, which is still known as La Petite Afrique. With southern France conquered, the Moors turned their attentions to elsewhere in the Mediterranean. In 837 AD, they captured Sicily. 846 AD, they put Rome under siege, and 20 years later, they took southern Italy after defeating Otto II of Germany. According to J.A. Rogers, in his 1946 book, The World's Greatest Men of Colors, the Moors plundered the Vatican and St. Peter's Cathedral in the invasion of Rome in 846 and carried off immense wealth in gold jewelry, tapestry, and paintings. And they later sold back much of the spoils to the Pope, with Jews acting as intermediaries. African proverb, the lazy man is jealous of the one who works and succeeds. Yeah, that's real powerful. But family, I ain't got to keep going on. Y'all get the point. You know, these brothers is running this history down when it comes to the Moors. You know what I mean? These brothers from Africa. It's part of their paradigm over there. So to hear these brothers talking about the Moors like they did, we see that they were knowledgeable. We see that Brother Shahid, even though we don't look to be right, well, all I got to do is let you know and see. You see it right here. You know, we running it down to you right now, family. You know, they want to take the legacy of our people away from them. They want to selectively research and claim certain information when it's biased against the Moors. My question for you is, why do you hate yourself so much and then try to tell me that my flag is the stars and the stripes? Stop it. You know what I mean? Like I told them, you Nigerian, you Liberian, y'all got y'all nationality. Even though y'all talking about y'all just learned the word black, yeah, you just learned it because it don't exist in Africa. Come on, man. You can't pull the wool over me like that, though, because I've been doing this for too long. I study, family. I don't even consider myself no scholar, nor do I strive to be known as one with some high scholarship. I'm giving you the truth, though. You can believe that. We're going to read this last measure here, because they got a whole bunch of them in here. But if you want a copy of this, it's right online. You can go and Google it, and you'll find this document dealing with the African Factbook. And it got stuff on Kemet in here too. This is just the Moorish portion. But like I say, this should become the textbook for homeschool. It says what impartial Europeans and others wrote about the Moors. The impact of the Moors on medieval Europe was profound. Below is a selection of writings of some objective Euro-American and other historians and writers who devoted space in their works to the significance of the period during which the Moors held Europe in their thrall and the vitalizing influence they exercised on European life. G.M. James in Stolen Legacy, 1972. This is what he stated. And I love quoting my brother. That brother died for this information. The people of North Africa were the neighbors of the ancient Egyptians and became the custodians of the Egyptian culture, which they spread through considerable portions of Africa, Asia Minor, and Europe. During their occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed with considerable credit the grandeur of African culture and civilization. During the Persian, Greek, and Roman invasions of ancient Egypt, large numbers of Egyptians fled not only to the desert and mountain regions, but also to the adjacent islands in Africa, Arabia, Asia Minor, where they lived and secretly developed the teachings which belong to their mystery system. See, I was telling you about those mystic teachings, that came through Sufism, and came through Tehuti and Kemet. You see what I'm saying? This is what you call a consensus in the scholarship. Everything I say, I ain't gonna never say it if I ain't seen it, family, or if I don't have receipts. I don't talk to just make it sound good and look good. If I say it, you can believe I got 20 sources to prove it. It says, in the 8th century AD, the Moors invaded Spain and took with them the Egyptian culture, which they had preserved. Knowledge in the ancient times was centralized. It belonged to a common parent system. In the wisdom system are the mysteries of Egypt, which the Greeks used to call Sophia. And they got a whole bunch of other scholars where they took from their measures, speaking highly of the Moors. They even got Europeans up here. Stanley Lane Poole, he admitting who it was. So some of them Europeans would tell the truth. You know what I mean? We can go on and on, family, but yeah. When you talk about the Moors, come on. I ain't got the need I say more. No, I ain't got to say no more. You know what I mean? So when I get out here and I get the teaching and I show you, family, what I show you when it comes to these pictures, and I begin to show you things such as the origin and tracing it back through etymological roots, you know what I mean? And I'm showing you ancient sources. I got a whole bunch of them, family. I got 1 million sources over here, just, exaggerating, right? I got sources for everything that I say. Everything I say, family. Look at this. This is from a Hebrew dictionary, as they call it. Cam. Definition of Cam. Ham is hot or warm, applicable to North Africa, where the Numidians and the dog-swarthy Mauritanians are the Moors worship Amen-Ra. Amen or Amen, the sun, otherwise Jupiter, Amen, represented by Cam. Right? That's one measure right there. You heard me talking about that earlier, right? Now going into the ancient origin of who the Maori were. Look at this. Mauritania was northwestern province of Africa and derived its name from its inhabitants, the Maori, not the Greeks, not the Romans, but the people themselves. Stop selective researching, family. The Greeks at first called the people Marusi, in the country Marussia, in which they were followed by some Latin poets, but they afterward adopted the proper appellations of Maori and Mauritania. Huh? Goodness gracious, man. How many more time do I have to bring this on the manifest? I mean, I got a whole bunch of sources over here, but how many times do I have to say the same thing over and over until you get it? We don't mind using the hammer repetition. From the Geneva Bible right here, Abimelech, Malik, or Moor. This like from the 1600s right here, this clipping right here. You know, they were using that terminology even in some of your biblical translations. Y'all better stop playing, man, when it come down to dealing with this truth and this science, man. You know, and accept the truth for what it is, and accept that them other Moors that came before me, they didn't know what I know. And I don't say that to exalt myself and make it seem like I know everything. I'm saying they didn't know this because they hadn't did the research. I'm up 3, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning doing this, family. When y'all sleeping. That's why I'm able to come, and I don't stop at one particular source and give up. See, this is that book I was telling y'all about called Inventing the Berbers. Get that book. It's going to tell you about the Maori. It's going to tell you how the Arabs, you know, were using that name Berbers in the place of Maori. Get the book, family. I'm giving you sources so you can do your own research. You can actually go online too and get a PDF copy of it. You know, and we're going to get here. And this is what I showed them last night. Get my granny off of that. Okay, this is what I showed them last night when I was talking to them about John Blumenbeck, not knowing that they had this African fact book. This is my own research and what I found out, you know, which they research matched up. That's why I say I don't read for information. I read for confirmation. That's the difference between me and most of these cats out here. They read to collect a whole bunch of information. I'm reading for confirmation. So when I show you all this stuff in the past, like when I talk about the Amaru and the Mari, which is a name that was adopted in the Kemetic language as well, referring to the people of Libyan descent, which the Libyans descend from the Puttites, and it was these people that the bloodline of the Moors come through from the Carthaginian root, all of that. You talking about the Meru Kushite Empire? You see the headdress that they got on their head? I ain't got to tell you what it is. Sumir. Huh? It's a reason. Amorite, Mar. The Amaru is the name for Amorite. Showing you how far we can trace this root back. I told you our brother Chief Antidia, he speaks on the original Ibero-Mauritian. Not that he speaks in favorable, you know, measures of it, but he runs the history now. So here. I show you this all the time. Moor, that's the name of Amen. I didn't make that up. But I'm going to keep using that hammer repetition until y'all get it. Until I beat that lie at your head. Demari, when I say it mean Moorish gods, go look it up and see if I made this stuff up. The high priest of Anu. Come on, man. We on the map. We on the map. You can't find black like that. Try tracing it back. It ain't happening, family. And I don't say that to be mean and unjust to those who believe that's what they are. I'm just telling you the truth. So I think that's enough to be said on this special subject matter. You feel me? You know, and from now on, when I deal with this special drawing, I'm gonna just refer you to these videos, because I ain't gonna keep going back and forth over the same thing, because I got too much to teach my people than to keep going back over the same thing over and over and over again, because you hard-headed, you stiff-necked, you mean, and you rebellious, just like Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. He said our people is a hard-headed, stiff-necked, mean set of people who have never did anything except at the point of a sword. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it don't get no plainer than this. All you got to do is go look at the source. I just showed you my sources. I showed you everything, and I showed you from Africa what they were talking about. If you try to debunk that, then something wrong with you. If you can't accept, man, the Moors is who they are, that's what it is. I believe what I am. I'm a Hebrew. If you're a Hebrew all the way, I love you because I see you as my brother. If you believe that you whatever you are, you know, I honor you. If you Kemetic, if you Muslim, whatever you are, you still my brother. You being who you are don't put no barrier between me and you. I'm not a religious game banger, family. But I can't give you what I really want to give you if you putting a barrier up there because you looking at a name, a title. That's ignorance. And when we say Moorish, we're not trying to make you Moorish to be religious. That's another misconception. Not over here in the body I demonstrate. We ain't trying to take you to no church or no mosque. When we say Moor, we're trying to get you to understand the significance of the name being connected back to the land, my people. You get me? I'm going to show this to you again because most of our people don't get this either. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I say it connect us to the land. We're going to use the hammer of repetition. Want to make sure our family get it. I'm going to share the screen real quick so you can see. I didn't try to pull up what I just pulled up right there, but since it's up there, I'm gonna go ahead and put this up there then so y'all can see that as well. Here we go, right here. All right, there we go. So look at this right here, family. Even back during the old times, and this is coming from Ancient and Modern Britons, book written by a European. They tell you the terms dealing with black and white, right? They say black akara has the meaning of dependency and servitude, while white ak has that of sovereignty and freedom, right? Now watch what this European say. He say, but these colors are employed only so long as they really describe the position of a tribe. So in other words, these words black and white represent conditions. It say, for if a dependent horde becomes independent and sovereign, the former kara or black will be changed into ak, white. So no matter what your nationality is, you know, these terms represent states or conditions. So you could be just like us, you could be Moors. But this term politically represent people who are sovereign, ain't got nothing to do with the skin of your color, you know, your race. This word had to do with conditions. So you can be a European and be considered black if you're on the bottom. You can be a Moor and be considered white if you on the top. You see the difference between the two? But the European took this play and said, okay, well, we on the top, so we white. We sovereign, we ruling things. You see? So that's why I say, but these colors employed are only so long as they really describe the position of a tribe. So if your position is on the top, you can be white as all ever, you know, and that's what they're going to call you, right? But if you're on the bottom, you can be just as you are, European, but you're going to be called black. See, these are conditions. It's the context in which they're using the word. And the same thing has to do with the word black as it deals with white. If you are Moor looking just like us and you on top, you considered white. I ain't talking about white in the aspect that the European define white supremacy. I'm telling you the original premise upon which this was used. Because in Africa, they taught along these lines. If you know anything about the Yoruba, I'm going to go there too, since I'm mentioning this. We want to make sure our family get it and they don't think we trying to whitewash you and make you be a European. That ain't what we talking about. I'm going to show you the teaching of the Yoruba here. I meant the Orishas. Look at this. This is the Orisha teaching. Allah wa Ta'ala, right? I basically was able to see the connection between that and Obatala. Look at the name Obatala. It means the white deity of purity. Look it up. I didn't make that up. That's African teaching that most of these people in the conscious community claiming. So when you hear Noble Drew Ali say white mean purity, purity mean God, God mean the ruler of the land, think about Obatala. Huh? Just like Isha, the name of the first man and woman that we talk about in my circle. Ashe and Eshu are the life force of causes. When you go into the teachings of the Orisha, look at the symbol they have. On one crown, the masculine, it has a scimitar. On the other one, it has a star. I didn't know this until I did the research. That's a symbol that's in my Moorish flag, which predate any shrine or organization. This symbol goes all the way back to the very beginning of creation. We give a European too much credit. And when you look at these 7 Orishas here family, this is nothing more than the same as the 7 Elohim. With the 7 eyes of Allah. You see Obatala in the symbol in the center, right? Then you got Moorish, hence the combination of the words Mu and Orisha. Mu often deals with the land. And gods deal with those who rule the land. White mean purity, purity mean God, God mean the ruler of the land, right? So when you know what Prophet Noble Drew Ali was truly bringing family, and you know exactly what it was that he taught and what it was that he brought, you would think in a totally different way, family. You would be awake. You would know, and I'm teaching you things that they try to hide. Some of them don't have this to teach you, though. Some of them don't like that this get taught because they like to keep it as a secret. You know, they want these to be adept teachings. Something that somebody keep behind closed doors. And you don't know what's going on. Like I showed our family this. That's the same measure dealing with the scimitar and the star that became our flag in the Moorish American government. That has to do with the North Star. You see the big dipper going around it? That's Kemetic. See it right here, the Kafesh? The constellation of Maskedi, the great bull, Mera, Meru, Mesura, Misra, Mizraim, right? Huh? That's the Kemet in the heavens, metaphysically. Man, I'm going to just leave it right there, family. I don't even need to say a whole lot more. But what I want to do, I want to see if some of our family in here got something, if they still here present, if they want to come into this special broadcast, you can come in and we can have a dialogue, respectful dialogue. You know, I don't mind whatever it is you bringing forth. You know, whatever it is that you want to draw based upon what I set out, you can come in here. We can have a reasonable discussion, you know, without going into arguing and all that right there, even if you disagree with me. So if you want to come in, or if you just want to put some questions in that box right there, that comment box, I address your questions there and everything that I set out. Because we can go back and forth about information all day, but if after the dialogue there's no change in thought, if we don't gain anything from it, then it's really fruitless. So what I'm going to do until I hear somebody or see somebody post that they want to come in here. I'm gonna go back and see what I can address here. Yeah, I had to address that brother on that one early on the year that the brother Mustafa Zamuri hit Florida. He went into the Portuguese discovery of Florida. Yeah, that's the year that they give in their discovery. But the main key is I'm showing that the brother Mustafa Zamuri was one of the first Moors over here. He discovered Florida, as far as building on it. The Europeans say a whole lot of things, but we getting rid of all of his history. I'm going with our African Factbook right here now that I see that they know what time it is. Okay, somebody speaking. Okay, yeah, he's speaking on the same thing there. Peace to the brother Lavelle that's in here too, by the way, and peace to the brother Nathaniel Hillard L. Bay. Salute to all y'all. And those who are looking right now, at this special broadcast, honors to all of y'all. Because this is what I do, man. I bring this information for my people. I'm here to teach my people. I'm here to give my people the truth. We ain't here to fleece our people. We ain't here to try to bamboozle our people. We here to give them the truth as it's meant to be given to them. So this is what I do. I'm going to keep bringing the truth to our family so that they can have some clarity. The whole purpose of this special thing is to give our people some background on who the Moors are so that they have this knowledge. You can reference this video, do your research, look at the sources, vet them. If you want to, contact me with something, even if you want to criticize or rebut. And we can come here on my platform and sit down and have a respectable dialogue. I ain't gonna call it debate because, in my circle, we teach a debate ain't nothing but an argument between two fools. So we don't debate, we dialogue over here. With all due respects to all the other platforms, we dialogue because out of dialogue come change. Out of dialogue come growth. Out of dialogue comes elevation. We're not here to go back and forth with trying to entertain you with who can act the most coonish. Because if we truly have come into a knowledge of self, if we truly demonstrating the laws of Ma'at, then ain't no cooning gonna be going on. I'm gonna show you something for all these people running around here hollering that they demonstrating the laws of Ma'at. And this is my particular work right here on the works that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us, the Egyptian Adept Right of Self-Initiation. And it wouldn't be right that I had this information on the manifest if I didn't address the laws of Ma'at. Listen to this, family. So when you hear somebody talking about they Kemetic and they uphold a Kemetic science, next time they in a dialogue and they speaking, and we all fall short, family. We all have some mastery to demonstrate. But just know when one is demonstrating Ma'atic or not. And the way these laws of Ma'at work is that, for example, when I woke up this morning, I should have on my mind, I shall not. Soon as I get up, soon as the sun rises, soon as Ra becomes elevated, I shall not, right? But when I lay down at night, I should be able to say I have not. Wake up, I shall not. Lay down, get ready to lay down, I have not. Which means that I have not broken any of these laws of Ma'at. You see? So let's start with I have not done iniquity. You should be able to lay down at night and say that you ain't demonstrated no iniquity. I have not robbed with violence. You should be able to check that off on your list as well. I have not stolen. You should be able to check that out right there, right? Because see, when you lay down and you ain't got no burdens like this right here on you, your heart can be weighed properly against the feather. Your heart, even though physically heavy, symbolically it represents the consciousness, and it should never outweigh that feather. There should be a balance. Or if you're really in your divinity, that feather should weigh more than the heart. Because the feather represents truth and right. You see, the feather represents your spiritual height of consciousness. And your physical knowledge or your worldly knowledge can never outweigh your spiritual consciousness. Your passion should never outweigh your judgment. You hear me? So you should be able to lay down at night and say, I have not done murder. I have done no harm. I have not defrauded offerings. This is the Maotic laws of ancient Kemet, family. If you done defrauded somebody offerings before you lay down, then you ain't demonstrating Ma'at. Shalom, Zion. I have not diminished obligations. You should be able to lay down at night and say, I have not diminished obligations. I have not plundered the Neteru. See, a lot of our people don't know. They talking about they committed, but they are plundering the Neteru. You can't say you Ma'ata and plunder the Neteru. I have not spoken lies. We have to be careful of what we're speaking because the principle of Ma'at is truth and right. So we got to make sure we ain't speaking lies. I have not uttered evil words. We see our people going in on each other terribly in a wrong way and claiming to be Kemetic or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? That's why I back up from a lot of people all the time. You know what I mean? Because they can bring that NBC up at you if you fall into that bottomless pit with them. That Negro black color thought pattern. I'm an ex-NBC, so I know what it is to act crazy. You see what I'm saying? We supposed to keep truth and right out front, though, when we're dealing with this knowledge. Whoever we may be, especially if we claim and we Kemetic. I have not caused pain. Many of us don't know that we cause pain to our people. That's why I don't like to get into a bunch of back and forth, because those who are listening that may be babies that want to come into a learning, those who want to become conscious, those who want to know the truth, and they can't get the truth because they see a bunch of Negroes going back and forth with each other, arguing, hooping and hollering, or whatever the case may be. Can't intelligently express themselves without conflict. You see what I'm saying? That's not Ma'atic, family. And we want to go off on our brothers, you know, and say, yeah, look at these Hebrews, or look at the Muslims, look at the Moors, and, you know, and all this stuff right here. Look at some of y'all. If we want to point fingers, so we ain't going to deal with that, right? So, shouts out to our brother JJ 7000 in here too, man. Yes, sir. Shouts out to him and Zion. Give honors to them brothers. I have not committed fornication. Can all of us say that? I have not caused the shedding of tears. Can all of us say that? I have not dealt deceitfully. Now, we done seen some deceptive things going on some of these platforms. One thing I can say about our brother JJ 7000, that brother unbiased. He may have some people that come on there in the background and they choose to be, but one thing about JJ, he's straight up, he right. We don't agree on everything, he'll tell you that. But one thing about it, what we agree on is you is not finna mislead our people into no hellfire by trying to make them disbelieve in the supreme reality. You want to come up with some more other stuff you done made up. Talking about some God is light and all this other stuff, he physical and crazy stuff. And that ain't to attack them, brother, but we saying, come on, man, we got to make some sense with this demonstration. In the Quran, it say this right here, in the Grand Quran of Muhammad: let there rise out of you a people enjoining what's right and forbidding what's wrong. So that means we got to rise up, family, and we got to enjoin what's right when it comes to the truth, and we forbid what's wrong if it's something that's going to be damaging to the people as a whole. All of us have that obligation, especially the ones that want to be on the front line leading the people. We have an obligation to lead the people right. If not, we're going to be held accountable. Their blood is on our hands. You see what I'm saying? I have not transgressed. How many of us can say that? Because sin and transgression is two different things. To sin in most cases have to do with being not conscious of what you're doing, and you're doing certain things you ain't fully aware. You think you is, but you're ignorant in all actuality. You know, that's why Noble Drew Ali said he came to redeem the Moors from their sinful ways, right? But like to transgress, that means I know the truth and I know what's right, but I'm gonna demonstrate what's wrong anyway. So that become like blasphemy, basically. And don't nothing good come out of that. I have not acted guilefully. I have not laid waste the plowed land. I have not been an eavesdropper. I have not set my lips in motion or set my lips in motion against any man. And we all have a problem with that going off. I have not been angry and wrathful except for a just cause. Can you lay down and check your list and say this? I have not defiled the wife of any man. I have not been a man of anger. I have not polluted myself. I have not caused terror. I have not burned with rage. I have not stopped my ears against the words of right and truth. How you gonna be ma'adik and you hear the truth, you hear what's right, and you reject it? You a liar. You betraying your higher self. You ain't comedic. You imposter. You see what I'm saying? So it goes on. I have not worked grief, meaning you like to stir up a bunch of contention and conflict. I have not acted with insolence, meaning you ain't Arabic. I have not stirred up strife. I have not judged hastily. I have not sought for distinctions. And this is what most of our people doing. How you gonna be ma'adik and you got a demarcated thought pattern? When being ma'adik has to do with being united. It deals with unity. We call it in the Moors paradigm, linking our will up with the deific will. You see what I'm saying? Becoming will. If we say God is one, we don't just say this, God is one, and that's no, we saying we one with God. In order for you to experience God, God working through me, God working through you. You the God man that's on the manifest. That's the reality. If God love came to you, it had to come to somebody that was in the flesh. If his truth came to you, it came to somebody that was in the flesh. His peace and freedom, when it come to you, it come to somebody that's in the flesh. So you say, God delivered me from this situation with the truth. But it was a man that spoke that truth to you. So you look beyond the flesh and man being the vehicle, and you look to the causeless cause and the rootless root, and you see the attributes of the creator manifest through the man. That's the proper understanding of the Most High. Ain't no spookism over here. You see? So when you go into this special aspect, right? It says also, I have not multiplied words exceedingly, right? It says, I have not done neither harm, it say, nor ill. I have not cursed the king. Violation of the laws. I have not fouled the water. I have not spoken scornfully. I have never cursed the Neteru. I have not stolen. I have not defrauded the offerings of the Neteru. I have not plundered the offerings of the blessed dead. So all of our ancestors that have come and gave their teaching regardless of who they were, these were their offerings. So anytime you try to tear down what they brought or remove the landmarks of your forefathers, your ancestors, their contribution, some of them died because they brought you these teachings. I'm talking about from Marcus Garvey to Noble Drew Ali, all the way down into this new era in time. All our leaders that have been persecuted and locked up died teaching their people the truth. Anytime you plunder their works and you try to destroy their works, anytime you destroy their works and you try to tear it down, you actually tearing their legacy apart. And so you plundering their offerings. You're plundering the offerings of the dead. I have not flinched the foot of the infant. I have not sinned against the nature of my native town. I have not slaughtered with evil intent the cattle of the nature. So if you can lay down at night and say, family, that you have never done those things, or if you can rise, and elevate yourself above those type of acts and actions, then all is well, family. And last but not least, I'm going to close with this right here. This is my work. I did this with my own hand. Because when I start producing my books, I'm gonna have them in this type of cover. You know what I mean? I just like the work I did on it. Notice it's called the Chanus effect. Chanu in Kemetic language means circle, and Safek means 7. So I want to show you something here. When you go into this special measure, there's a drawing that we have here, and this will bring some unity to our people, hopefully, as far as dealing with the unity of a thought. And that's what I like about these teachings that our brother brought us. He brought us a universal approach when it comes to these teachings. He brought us a universal approach. All right. Here it go right here. And this is called Yehoshua reveals to the people their sinful ways. This is chapter 12 in the Moorish Holy Quran. It says, in all the cities of Arisha, Yehoshua taught at a talk by the riverside, and he taught thousands of the people who followed him. And one day a cart of juggernaut was hauled along by scores of frenzied men, and Yehoshua said, behold, a form without spirit passes by, a body with no soul, a temple with no altar fires. This car Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there. This car is but an idol of a people drunk on the wine of carnal things. Allah lives not in the noise of the tongues. There is no way to know him from any idol shrine. Allah's meeting place is within the heart, and in the still small voice he speaks, and he who hears is still. And the people said, teach us to know the Holy One who speaks within the heart. Allah, the still small voice. This is what they asked our brother Yehoshua. And he said, the holy breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the spirit of the Holy One. But in their image man was made, and he who looks into the face of man looks at the image of the Allah that speaks within. And when man honors man, he honors Allah. And what man does for man, he does for Allah. That removes all the spookism. It's saying you must bear in mind when man harms in thought, word, or deed another man, he does wrong to Allah. That's right there in that Ma'atic law that I was just reading, just said in a different way. It said if you would serve Allah who speaks within the heart, just serve your near of kin. And those who are of no kin, the stranger at your gates, the foe who seeks to do you harm. Assist the poor and help the weak. Do harm to none and covet not what is yours. Then with your tongue the Holy One will speak, and he will smile behind your tears, and will light your countenance with joy, and fill your hearts with peace. And then the people asked, to whom shall we bring gifts? Where shall we offer sacrifice? And Yehoshua said, our Father Allah asks not for a needless waste of plant, grain, dove, or of lamb. That which you burn on any shrine you throw away. No blessing can attend to the one who takes the food from the hungry mouths to be destroyed by fire. When you would offer sacrifice unto Allah, just take your gifts of grain or meat and lay it on the table of the poor. From it an incense will rise to heaven, which will return to you with blessedness. Tear down your idols. They can hear you not. Turn all your sacrificial altars into fuel for the flames. Make human hearts your altars, and burn your sacrifices with the fire of love. And all the people were entranced and would have Yehoshua as a god. And Yehoshua said, I'm your brother, man. Just come to show the way to Allah. And you should not worship man, praise Allah, the Holy One. You know what I mean? So this brother, which was given a powerful drawing here, was showing man that we sacrifice each other. We put each other on the altar. We use each other as scapegoats and so forth and so on. But that's where our conflict come on. This one last measure dealing with unity, and we closing out. And this is coming from the unity of Allah and man to the Hindus. And Yehoshua said, the Allah I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed with walls, nor hedged about with the bounds of any kind. All the people worship Allah the one, but all people see him not alike. The universal Allah is wisdom, will, and love. All men see not the triune Allah. One sees him as the Allah of might. Another sees Allah as the Allah of thought, and another as the Allah of love. A man's idea is his God. And so as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Man's God today, tomorrow is not God. The nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view. And so he does not seem the same to everyone. Man names the part of Allah that he sees. And this to him is the all of Allah. And every nation sees a part of Allah, and every nation has a name for Allah. Take the name Allah out of the equation for a minute and just say God. Man sees the part of God, and this to him is the all of God. And every nation sees the part of God, and every nation has a name for God. Right? You Brahmins call him Pra Brahm. In Egypt, he is Thoth, Tehuti. And Zeus is his name in Greece. Jehovah is his name in Hebrew, a Yahweh, a Yahweh, right? But everywhere he is the causeless cause and rootless root from whence all things have grown. So when you hear me saying we Moors honor and respect what other people believe, now you should comprehend where I'm coming from, right? It say, when men are afraid of Allah, they take him for a foe, and they dress up other men in fancy garbs and call them priests. And they charge them to restrain the wrath of God or Allah by prayers. And when they fail to win his favor by their prayers, to buy him off with sacrifice of animals or birds. And when man sees Allah as one with him, as Father Allah, he needs no middleman, no priest to intercede. He goes straight up to him and say, my Father God, Allah. And then he lays his hand into Allah's own hand, and all is well. See, that cut out the middleman, the priesthood, somebody that's trying to lead you or mislead you, right? You got to be courageous enough to meet your God. Like Moses met his God, right? He asked him, who sent? Say, I am sent you. So it goes on in closing, it says, and this is Allah. You are each one a priest just for yourself. And sacrifice of blood Allah does not want. Just give your life in sacrificial service to the all of life, and Allah is pleased. When Yehoshua had thus said, he stood aside, and the people were amazed, but strove amongst themselves. And some said he is inspired by Holy Brahm. Others said he is insane. And others said he is obsessed, and he speaks as devils speak. But Yehoshua tarried not. And among the guests was one, a tiller of the soil, a generous soul, a seeker after truth, who loved the words that Yehoshua spoke. And Yehoshua went with him, and is in his home abode. So I stop right there, family. Like it states, as man unfolds, his God unfolds. So your level and your comprehension of divinity has to do with where you are along the way. You know, so we understand some of our people are further ahead than others. But neither should the ones that are ahead look down on the ones, you know, that are not so heightened in their development when it comes to this knowledge. Nor should those who don't have the knowledge look at those who have the knowledge with contempt either. All of us are raised in different levels and degrees of understanding, and we are rooted and founded where we are along the way. All of us, it's enough work for all of us to do. My calling is not the calling of the next man. My gifts are not the same as the next man. We say the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of God. You know, in this special circle that I draw with, you know, being part and parcel of the Moorish American government. So we here to teach self-determination when it comes to our people. So again, when we use the term Moorish, we're not trying to beat you over the head or browbeat you with religion. We're talking about, the land, what attach us to the land, and that's what I was getting ready to show you all before I went into measure. And this is I'm gonna show you right here what I was trying to read to you a few minutes ago, so you know what I'm speaking of when I make these references. And like I say, if you want to come in here and dialogue, go back and forth and draw, all as well, we can sit down and I'll give you a favorable reply, and I ain't gonna be upset by what it is you bring to the manifest. You know what I mean? Okay. So here it is right here, family. This is right here in the Europeans' law, where they show you, and we ain't talking about that paperwork garbage these want to be pushing around here talking about their Moors. That's garbage. All that sovereign citizen paperwork crap, that is not the way. And that's why a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to the Moors too. Because you got people out here propagating that garbage that don't work. You can't have sovereignty without being a nation, family. That's called paper terrorism, by the way. So be careful who you let teach you, because they just might not have your best interests at heart. So this is coming from the sections of the 1740 Negro Act, when they were classifying the people of the land, so to speak. They have two people mentioned in the Constitution of the United States government. One, we the people, that refer to the European themselves. They ain't got nothing to do with no slave, no Negro people, none of that. Then they say all other persons. That's where they bring their slavery and their property in at. Because all other persons, if you look up the definition of the word person, it means property. Even Europeans, that's considered persons, meaning whatever you own, your business, all these things, corporations, you corporate property. That's why Noble Drew Ali say one day all property is going back to the government. You see what I'm saying? Meaning he gonna put you back in slavery again. He gonna put some chains on you. So anyway, this is given the how they were recognizing the people under the 1740 Negro Act, and it declared that every Negro, Indian, mulatto, and mestizo is a slave unless the country can be made to appear. Which we know ain't no way in the world you're going to see no mulatto country, Indian country, and none of that. But this is how they was able to get reparations later on, because Indians was able to get enmity, you see, and it came through them trying to say they were the natives of America. But that was basically garbage as well, because a plantation and a reservation is the same thing. A reservation ain't nothing but a placeholding apparatus to keep the true natives to the land away. And the Moors are the true natives to this land. So in section 4, I want to come here. It says the term Negro is confined to slave Africans, the ancient Berbers and their descendants. Don't confuse this with the Moors, because they make a distinction between the Berbers and the Moors, right? It say it does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as the Lascars. So in other words, the Egyptian, Moors, the Asiatics, and the Lascars, they are not considered, or were never considered slaves. You see, but that term Negro, then when you get into dealing with black, colored, Ethiopian, everything, they change every 10 years. We're the only people that change nationality like people change clothes. That's the importance of the name Moor, family. It attached us to the land. You got me? It ain't got nothing to do with religiosity. The term Moor attach you to this land. And guess what? That means if you own the land, if you native to the land, that means when you come forth as a collective under this name, you can claim the territory. So when people be talking about what we gonna get the land for government, it's already yours. The only problem is our people don't have the mind of unity. They don't know that you can be a Moorish Jamaican. You know, you can be a Moorish Mexican if that's what you is. Because, you know, Nova Drew Ali pointed all these people out as Moorish American. You know, but come together long enough to be one and then break off and call yourself whatever you call yourself. You can make up Naga World if that's what you want to be. You can be, you know, whatever you call yourself. Any name you call yourself, but at least you'll have power to call yourself that under your own government. Self-determination, family. That's what we talking about. It ain't got nothing to do with your religious doctrine, nothing to do with your political affiliation or your belief. It's all about us coming together as a whole to demonstrate self-determination, because the will of government has been based always upon the will of the people. And that's why they asked us, is there a unanimous will among your people to be free? Is there a unanimous will? Meaning, do everybody want to be free? Do all your people want to be free? That's what the United Nations asked the Moorish American government. Do all your people want to? And we can't say that all of our people want to be free, family. You know, so that's just my draw. And hopefully them brothers from Africa get it together, you know, and hopefully I get a chance to sit down and talk to them, you know, where we can go deeper into this. But yeah, that African Factbook, you know, they definitely bust a few myths up in that demonstration, and that's gonna be my go-to. You know, I ain't even got to bring up my other stuff because I got a whole bunch of PowerPoints, slides, and everything that support everything that's said, and I done said it out there before. But that's why I say I don't read to collect information. I read for the purpose of confirmation. So that being said, family, again, you know, I greet you all, you know, as I came in love and in law, you know, with everything that I brought on the manifest. You know, sometimes we just have to admit that we don't know a thing. We don't argue a thing when we don't have knowledge of something. I'm going to just give you a brief recap. Look at these ones and what they were saying. This because I said I was going to let y'all see this before I closed out, because it wasn't long of us going back and forth. Look at this. Watch this. Here it is right here. Watch this. Just missed that real quick. Look at this again. So everything I just showed y'all, I got proof for it, for those who didn't see this when we first started, when I first started this video. But now you can see this conversation in context of everything that I set out, and you're going to see that I know what I'm talking about. Even though I didn't pull the sources up, I had the sources, and I can speak a lot of this stuff straight off the head. Like right now, I ain't got nothing in front of me. I'm coming straight off the dome. You know, but if I don't give you information or sources, most people gonna say, oh, he made that up, that's pseudo. But when I do give you the sources, it's still so you can't please everybody. Let me give you this measure again for those who didn't see that broadcast. Check them out, family.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Can I ask the brothers a question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, my brother.
Okay, let me ask you brothers this question. Because I studied the works of Brother Sheikh Anta Diop, you know, John Heron Clark, all our scholars, which I know y'all may be familiar with as well. What I want to ask you, because I know the European in their literature spoke of two groups. You know, one that they basically termed Moors, but I know that there were those who were indigenous, right? And they fought the Arabs, basically, and ran them back into Saudi Arabia under the brother Jabil Tariq, you know. And so I want to know, as far as dealing with these particular groups of people, which come from the ancient Maori. Are you familiar with the ancient Maori people of ancient time?
You mean the ancient Mali or?
No, the Maori. Maori people.
Maori.
The Maori from whence the Mauritanians come. The original indigenous inhabitants.
Yeah, so if I would speak on that, you know, what we know, like you mentioned Diop very well, what we know about the area called Mauritania, it was the Ouagadougou Empire of Ghana.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
when that was the Ouagadougou Empire, and the people who were in charge of that place are called they are an extraction of the Mandingo people, but they have their own ethnic group, but they are from a Mandingo group. They were controlling that area. So the Moor issue actually, what Diop said, these groups, they came from various places. We have people who came as far as Yemen.
That's right.
Okay. Came as far as Yemen, some from Morocco, and some black people got mixed. It was not like a unique group of black people. They were like Arabs.
They were mixed. They were mixed.
Okay. Yeah. So it was just like Islam is today, where everybody just joined. So it was like a movement. Black people were also there having stakes in the whole organization, and they were having power there too, but they were not solely black. They were also Yemenis and everybody in there. So the black people who were joining these people, mostly African, considered themselves out because they were not always
100%.
They were more conscious about the philosophy of the religion and not really about race, because race consciousness is not the
Brother Sekou, let me add to that. Most of the monks were also followers of the slave ships, navigating those ships with the enslavers.
Right. Now,
and they were translators. They were translators as well.
Right. Let me ask you this question, because we teach that it was the Moroccans, that actually enslaved the Moors. You see, because Moroccans don't consider themselves Moors. And so what I wanted to ask you in relation to this is, because we helped establish certain things in Europe, they got statues of all of our people. You ever heard of the brother Mustafa Zamori, who came to the United States first from Mauritania?
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah. Well, he was one that actually founded Florida and a couple of places or whatever. And the Arabs consider us descendants of him. And he was a Moor, Mustafa Zamori. So if you get a chance, look him up. And I want to say this, and I'm going to stand down and let everybody else speak as well. I understand the doctrine of most of those in West Africa, according to our brother G.M. James, who wrote Stolen Legacy, that they took the original teachings of Kemet into North Africa. And in my understanding of that, that was mostly dominated by what we would call the doctrine of Sufism, which is traced back to Dhul Nun, which is, he say he got from Tehuti. So I see West Africa mostly dominated by the Sufistic culture as opposed to the Sunnite culture, which I know they identify with the Kemetic tradition within their tradition. Are you familiar with that?
Brother, I think that is wrong, because what you just said is like double talking. If you say Sufism and the Sunni Muslims, they are all Muslims. It's just that there are different cults to the same religion, because of their different ideologies. And you said that it took the Kemetic culture to North Africa. Kemet is in North Africa. So what are you trying to say? I didn't understand that.
This is what, it ain't what I'm trying to say. This is historically recorded, my brother, that the Sufis, they trace themselves back to the teachings of a brother from Egypt by the name of Dhul Nun, who was known as the father of Sufism, right? And Dhul Nun said his teachings come from Tehuti in Egypt, thought the god of writing. You see what I'm saying?
Wait. This Dhul Nun, was he a Muslim? Was he a Muslim or what?
That's what I'm saying.
He was a Muslim.
There's a difference between Sufism and Islam, because Sufis draw from a universal platform, brother. Tasawwuf is not really accepted by Muslims like that. Even though you see it intertwined, it's really not Islam. Sufism is a movement of its own, but most Muslims claim Sufism. And so what I'm saying is that the Sufis trace themselves back to Tehuti in Egypt, right? And if they trace their tradition to Tehuti, I can show it to you right now, but I don't feel like
anybody can fabricate that kind of story. I think that's figurative speech, because you can't trace it back to Tehuti. because the Kemetic science has nothing to do with Islam, Christianity.
Totally different.
So,
Totally different.
so
You see
those,
this book right here?
I
want you to get this book if you never read it before. It's called Alchemy, right? And basically, like I said, if you go and look, the father of Sufism was from Egypt. He was Egyptian, right? But it was he that
I ask you, was he a Muslim? I ask you, was he a Muslim?
He was more of a mystic than anything. But what I'm saying,
he was a Moor.
He was a mystic, but his teachings were accepted universally, by all mystics, basically. And I'm just asking you, right? And if you're not familiar with it, you know what I mean, and you identify in the group as Muslim, I understand that. But my thing is, from my studies and me actually coming out of Orthodox Islam at one time, because I'm not an Orthodox Muslim, I'm not into Sunnism, Shiism, or none of that. But after
so what are you? What type of Muslim are you then?
I follow the teaching of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
No, what type of Muslim are you?
I'm not a
You
Muslim.
have to be one.
I'm not a Muslim, my brother. You feel
so why do you say under Moorish science? Wait, why do you grade under Moorish science Islam? Why do you use the word Islam?
Why do I use the word Islam?
Yeah. In felicitation under the Moorish science. But I always hear them say Islam. Okay. Why do you use the word Islam?
Okay, I'm gonna let you know why we use this special word. We use this special word because it simply means peace, but we don't demonstrate Islam. We call it Islamism. Now, when we say Ism adds on the actual practitioner of being peaceful, not just saying peace, but being peace. That's what Islamism means to us. And it also means peace to everybody, regardless of what they believe, what their school of thought is. We respect everybody's belief system in the circle that I come through, right? So what I'm saying is, I don't, whatever your religious system is, we draw from a universal paradigm. We understand that our people in the diaspora come from many different schools of thought and theology. And so when we draw with our people, we respect where they are along the way, but we honor all of those who have came to teach our people. We have people that talk from the Hebrew paradigm. We have people that talk from all types of paradigms over here. So our teaching, the way he brought it to us, he told us that we were from Africa. But according to the law and where we were written into the law in 1740, something y'all would know about, we were referred to in the European law as Moors. And these are the only people they honored. If you were called Negro, black, colored, and all of that, brother, you consider property over here. You see what I'm saying? Because we don't have that nationality that you have over there being from Nigeria. Or this brother from
Not true, my brother.
So Negro,
that's not true. That's not true.
Listen to me. Negro, black, and colored in America.
So you guys have to be certified by the Europeans for you to be happy with the word Moor. Is that what you're telling me?
No,
because you guys were certified as Moor.
That ain't what I'm saying, brother. I'm saying that the titles that our people have accepted, Negro, black, color, these titles were given to us by the European and
do you know the best definition I've heard of the word black? I heard it from Sanetta.
We understand.
You know what it means? You know what it means? Why are you ashamed of the word black? You don't need to be ashamed of it. You know what it is? You know what it is?
Listen to me, brother.
At night, when you look at the universe, the multiverse is multiple of darkness. You know what that is?
Listen to what I'm saying, brother.
Hold on for 1 minute. At that, let's go. Sekou, brother Sekou, talk to us.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, my brother here from the Moorish community, no disrespect, brother. I'm not an expert in the history of Moorism or how it started, so I'm not going to pretend here that I know the details or everything you are talking about. So I'm not going to debunk everything you said just because I don't like it. I don't have evidence to disprove or prove what you just said. But when we go by what our scholars have written, you mentioned Diop when you came on here. They don't mention any of the things that you mentioned when it comes to the origin of Moorism. And when we look at the continent of Africa, Diop wrote the cultural unity of Africa, east, west, south, north. All over Africa, wherever you go, we pour libation. We talk about ancestors. We talk about all these things. We talk about reincarnation. We never talk about Moorism. We never talk about Islam. We never talk about these things. Now, you may have your sources, and that will be left to archaeological, when you have archaeological proof, written record, you would like to show those ones. And I cannot tell you are lying because I don't have anything to disprove what you're saying. But what I'm telling you, as far as our scholars are concerned, we know the cultural unity of Africa, the Moorism is not included.
Right.
And hold on.
That's my premise right there. The brother say it ain't included. We find a whole book produced by the people that's in leadership in Africa. So I can, and we give honors to this brother for his honesty of saying that, he can't speak on what he don't know, unlike the other brother V-Man. You know what I mean? So we give honors to him, but he did make a bad statement by saying that in Africa, they don't have that when they got a whole book where they teaching this in the paradigm, and it's a myth-busting book, which means the information they put in here, they have come together in a consensus and they accept it for what it is. And they actually debunking the myths that people have been saying that the Moors, were a title given to them by European. They debunked that in the African myth-busting book, what we call the African Factbook. You know what I mean? So them brothers need to read the book. It's written there. It was printed in Africa.
Hold on. And one more thing that you got, Brother Sekou, is that you have your tongue intact. You have your ancestry intact. And when you got that, you got the continent intact. And you know that when you go all the way back to the spirit of our ancestors, we wasn't none of that stuff. We wasn't the Muslims. We wasn't Christians. We wasn't Moors. We have became that in America, but our ancestors don't take you back home to that. So that's what you do have.
Well, let me share this real quick, Sir, and I'm going to stand down because I don't want to hold up the show. I want to show these brothers something real quick.
No, I don't want to do that right quick. No. But I tell you what, though. Hold on, Adept. I do have somebody that would like to talk to you, and we're going to get into that. Yeah, so we don't want to do that right now, Adept.
Allow me to do this one time. I ain't going into.
All right, go ahead. Come on, Adept.
I want to show these brothers something.
All right, come on.
Briefly, it ain't gonna take me but a second.
All right.
I think they need to see this right here in order for them to know exactly where I'm coming from.
All right.
Here we go. Right here. Let me know that you can you see my screen?
We see your screen, brother.
Okay, you see this right here, right? This European here. John Frederick Blumenbeck, right? He was the one, brothers, that originated this term, referring to people along the lines of colorism, right? Caucasian race, white race, Mongolian race, yellow race, Malayan, brown race, Ethiopian, black race, American, red race, right? You're not referred to in your nationality as Liberian, being black. That's a description of who you are. But they try to give these titles of us as being a people. And I'm showing you that is not a nation that has a black flag. There's no nation that has a white flag, so to speak, So when you deal with Liberia, Liberia has a flag for Liberia. Nigeria has a flag for Nigeria. And these titles were given to us on the Black Code laws. And that's what I was emphasizing to you all. Where you have a nationality, ours was stripped from us, and that's what the worst form of slavery of people can suffer on.
Brother Moore, you already have a nationality. It is called African American. America is the country. African is your ancestry. It's simple.
I'm going to say African
Why
American.
did you show that? There's no reason to show that.
Where's the flag?
There was no reason to show that. Telling me about color.
So the flag, I get.
And you've got a flag as well.
That's the
More
United
than
States
50,
flag.
more than 50 stars on your
That's
flag.
the United States flag, my brother.
You are part of the United States. Why are you removing yourself from that?
We don't claim that flag, my brother. With all due respect.
Now hold on, Moor.
Man, come on.
Moors over here that say they are Moorish American, and they got the Moorish flag and they got the American flag together.
That's referring to the continental territory, Sarnetta. That's the Moors in the temple. We Moorish American government over here.
Okay, you renegade. You're a renegade.
So you mean within the Moors,
Ali said that he was gonna do. He said he was gonna lead the Europeans here long enough to teach the Moors how to run a government. So we building government instead of trying to be up under this European government. You feel me?
Yes, I feel you.
Peace and love.
Hey, brother, do you got my number? Adep, you got my number?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. When the show over, hit me up. I need you to text me so I can have your number. All right, brother. Peace, man.
Peace and love. Love you, brothers.
Peace.
Yeah. So all is well, you know, we kept it cordial and demonstrated as we always do. Yeah, family, that's what we talking about right there. They wasn't knowledgeable of what it was that I knew. Don't make me no better or them no lesser. But the thing is about it, family, we have to admit when we don't know something. If somebody show it to you, like I said, I didn't even know about this particular book right here, the African Factbook. I'm gonna show it to y'all so y'all can Google it, because I'm finna close out right now. You know, and giving honors to all y'all family for sitting here and hearing me out. You know, it's a pleasure to just be in your presence, family, because I just want to see my people be one, regardless of what their school of thought is. We got to come together, because these people trying to kill us, take us all the way off the count. They trying to cancel the whole culture, no matter who you is now. You know what I mean? So, yeah, this is the book here. And I sent it. If you don't have it, you know, just email me at egyptianadept@gmail.com. You know, and I'll send it to y'all. You can just go put it in, type it in, and it'll come right up for you. 800 pages of straight fact. The Moors ain't all they were talking about. You know, like I said, this coming from these brothers right here. These brothers from Africa that's leaders in that world. It was September 20th when they adopted it. And we give honors to them for recognizing the scholarship from over this special way and making that a part of theirs. So it's talking about Kemet and everything. You know what I mean? So it's a very extensive book. So I know it's probably big as the Exhuming of a Nation, written by the chairman. You know what I mean? So yeah, just check it out, family. Check it out, and I guarantee you won't go wrong. You know, so I want to salute you and say again to the family, Unquajet Sanel, for those who don't know what that means in the Comedian language, that means life, health, and prosperity be upon you all. You know, regardless of where you may be along the way, you know, just stay solid, man, and keep on the up and up, man. Don't let nobody derail you from your work. Because see, each and every one of us got a special work that we got to do, you know, when it comes to uplifting our people. You know, we just got to learn how to come together and pool our resources, mentally, physically, and spiritually. You know, and once we able to do that right there, family, again, we'll be able to get a lot further ahead when we can come together and think together. Like they say, you know, the old idiom, 2 heads are greater than 1. You know what I mean? So if we can think along those lines, all is well. I wanna close out with one of my tracks too, though, so y'all can get a draw on that vibration as well as I end this special broadcast. So here we go right here. This one called Sacrilegious Blasphemy. Let y'all check this out real quick to give y'all some good vibes. It's got a universal twist to it, so I'm pretty sure y'all will enjoy it.
When black people like me talk to the slaves, they didn't kill us. They sent some old house Negro along behind me to undo what it said. You have to beat the history straight to understand this. There were 2 kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. And the house Negro always looked out for his master.
It's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Blood diamonds in our veins, so we free. Every nigga's a potential donor for a small fee. Over the years, I gave my blood, gave my sweat and tears. Upright in the beginning, and fearless, and it's all clear. They wanna see me on my knees with my hands out, but I refuse to be a pickaninny chasing clout. Your favorite rapper, honor master, he's a faker slave. Bad is worshiping pagan rights for minimum wage. And I say the things that these house niggas wanna say. Can't cancel me, cause I'm the culture, watch me lead the way. My footprints are clearly cut, cause I'm a big stepper. I leave eternal landmarks, therefore I live forever. My Moorish ties can never be severed. Medieval demons plot to earn acceptance, and I don't have to get ready because I stay ready. Recite these vanishing rituals, these are my confessions, and I got a 7-day theory like Machiavelli. Sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Freedom of speech, just watch what you say. Them devils look for excuses to exercise they hate. No design by manipulation, justify the case. A pig's only agenda is to control our fate. So many snakes and I miss silent hissing like Judas. Filled in malice and greed, but still I see through them. And I can see it in their eyes, they pray for my demise. A crown of thorns upon my head, but yet I hold it high. And I walk with purpose and pride in every step I strive, cause I made a vow to the ancestors to ride or die. So I got a burden of many spirits and lost souls. Yeah, I'm captive within the struggle as I unfold. They hold the stripes on my back, look at my broken flesh. I'm speaking truth to power into my last breath. I hear true legends never die, and now I'm legendary. And I live forever through these lyrics, even when I'm buried. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me.
Yes, sir. Peace and love, family. Peace and love, man. You know, we salute all you good people, man, for listening to this drawing. And may you all be guided and continue to do the work that you do. You know, and I stand shoulder to shoulder and toe to toe with you for whatever it has to do with uplifting our people. So again, Islam to my Moorish kin. Also, you know, Ashe to our brothers and sisters that's out there demonstrating, trying to liberate themselves. You know, Shalom, you know, to our Israelite family. You know, man, peace to the gods and earth. Salam alaikum to our Muslim family, Rahubat. Well, actually, you know, we're going to give honors to all of our family just all over the place. You know, we greet you as we depart, and we depart as we greeted you with love and law. And so hopefully we can demonstrate methodically and apply these laws to ourselves or whatever it is we say we stand on. We just got to be the message we bring. So peace and love, family. We love you. Honors to you. Make sure you share this special demonstration. And if you ain't subscribed to my particular channel, please subscribe, because all we here to do is bring you the truth and let the people know what time it is. And if somebody would like to reach out to me at egyptianadept@gmail.com, and I'll give you a favorable reply. And because we want to hear from you. I want to bring people on the platform so we can dialogue on bridging the gap. We already know what the problem is, but we need the solution now. So salute, family. We love you.